live. It's Wrestling Uncensored. We're previewing AEW Revolution tonight on the show. And we're watching AEW Rampage. We just watched Smackdown. There's a lot of pro wrestling to get to. Let's get to it. All right. Where's Johnny? There's Johnny.
We're all set?
I don't know. I was trying to get set here before the show, and I'm not quite set where I want to be, but we're getting there. AEW Revolution coming up on Sunday, a big weekend here on the Ringside Report Network. We've got UFC 285 tomorrow.
It's a big weekend.
Yeah, it's a very big weekend. You excited for AEW's Revolution? Did Dynamite do a proper job of getting you hyped? Is this Rampage doing a good job of getting you excited for the pay-per-view?
Well, it's a four-way tag right now to start Rampage, right? So nothing really interesting so far. But Dynamite last week, I thought, sold me on the Danielson versus MJF match. So that's the main reason to watch this pay-per-view. I mean, there's a couple other matches that are okay to watch, but mainly it's the 1 hour Iron Man match. That's the main reason to watch that pay-per-view, and I think that match should be excellent.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job of selling that match on Dynamite this week, too. That Bryan Danielson promo was fantastic.
Say the show, I thought the Battle Royal wasn't great, but to have that end the show, I think it ended off on a high note.
Well, you like the Battle Royal?
No, I'm saying the Battle Royal wasn't great.
Oh.
So thankfully they ended it though with Danielson and MJF. That ended the show. So thankfully the show ended on a high note because of that.
But the show ended. Oh, I guess the show didn't end with the Battle Royal, right? It felt like that was the end of the show.
Last match, yeah, but right. But the promo ended the show.
Right. And it was a hell of a promo. And it was a good way to end the show. And my Rampage feed just froze, so I don't have that anymore. I don't know. There's stuff going on like behind the scenes right now that are distracting me, and I'm trying to get through the show.
Wow, it's only a four-way tag. We'll survive.
Well, I'm not seeing any of it. Are you seeing it?
No, but again, four-way tag. I don't think we're missing too much.
Maybe it's, I don't know. But yeah, it was not. What the hell is this now? I don't have Rampage going on at all. Another battle royal, another tag team battle royal I didn't really need on Dynamite, but that promo between Bryan Danielson and MJF, really the Bryan Danielson promo, that's what not only saved the show, not only made the show far better. I mean, it wasn't like the show was a terrible show, but it wasn't an amazing show. But that promo was just levels above everything else. And it sold the match for me even more. I was excited about MJF and Bryan Danielson. I thought we were going to get a good match there. But the Bryan Danielson promo got me far more excited. That Bryan Danielson promo sold that match for me and got me far more invested than anything that they have done prior. No other promo, nothing from MJF, nothing on the build to this, for me, was as good as what Bryan Danielson did. You know, those matches that Bryan had to go through to get to this point, they were all right. They were good matches. But promo-wise, this to me was the best promo that they've done on the build to this pay-per-view. And it wasn't the guy that everybody says is the best promo in the business, MJF. It was Bryan Danielson's promo. MJF has done some great work in the build to this, but this Bryan Danielson promo was on another level. And it made me, as a Bryan Danielson fan, want Bryan to win. When before I was like, yeah, it'd be nice if Bryan won. I don't expect him to win. This is MJF's first major title defense. But after that promo from Bryan, as a Bryan Danielson fan, there we go. I think we just updated something. Thank you. As a Bryan Danielson fan, it got me way more invested. Because Bryan explained to us why he's a better champion, a better wrestler, a better man than MJF. And why we should look to him as the number one guy in professional wrestling and not MJF. And I loved it. And we can break it down here, John. Let me break it down, and then I'll get your thoughts on the Bryan promo. Bryan's in the ring getting interviewed by Renee. He starts to talk, but MJF is out right away to interrupt him. Bryan tells MJF, just shut up for once. Don't talk. I've got something to say. So MJF just cut off, doesn't speak. He's just out there listening. Bryan says, MJF, you hate me because people respect me, and you think you deserve that respect. You hate me because I've got a wonderful wife and beautiful kids, and you think you deserve that. But MJF, you've done nothing to earn those things. You haven't fought for those things. I've fought for everything that I have. Bryan says MJF has taken every shortcut to get to where he is, and the only thing that he deserves is his fiancée leaving him. Which gets commentary to go, oh, that's too far, and even some groans from the crowd. But Bryan shuts everybody up when he says, pinning shoulders to the mats and banging rats? Is that what you do, Max? That doesn't sound like someone I'd want my daughter to marry. So saying...
It was an odd comment.
Why was that an odd comment? That was a very...
Wow.
That was a perfect comment explaining to the audience, MJF, he's trying to make you feel bad that his girlfriend left him. He's trying to make you feel bad for him, right? I hate you, Bryan Danielson, because you take your family for granted because you go out and wrestle, and I'll never have a family because I'm unlovable, and my fiance left me, and he's trying to make you feel bad for him. But Bryan Danielson is saying, MJF, you deserved to lose your fiance because you disrespected her on a weekly basis in every interview, in every promo, when you would talk about having sexual relations with other women. You were being disrespectful, and you were not only talking openly about cheating on your fiance, in character or not. I mean, he's doing it not on AEW TV. He's doing it in interviews, too, and you could say he's in character in interviews, but is he, or is that just who he is? I'm starting to wonder. And Bryan Danielson saying, I wouldn't want my daughter to marry a guy like that who's, engaged to my daughter and then on national television talking about banging rats, a disrespectful term to use about women and female wrestling fans. MJF being disrespectful. Why is that an odd comment? I thought that was an amazing point by Bryan Danielson to illustrate, don't feel bad for MJF. He was disrespectful to his fiance. He got what he deserved.
Well, it's just mainly the age difference right there. That's what I think about right away. Like MJF and his daughter.
Oh my! He's not talking about his actual daughter. He's saying, if I were the father of your fiance, I would be happy that she left you. He's not saying, I wouldn't want you to marry my daughter who's a child. Like, John, you got to understand what the hell he's talking about. What are you nitpicking with this nonsense? What are you talking about? What are you saying to me right now?
That's the first thing that came to mind. It's the first thing that came to
Well,
mind.
you're a weird guy. You shouldn't be thinking about those types of things. It's disgusting. What's the matter with you? I understood exactly what Bryan Danielson was saying because he made perfect sense. Johnny North is just not quite getting the program. What are you talking about?
Oh, I don't think I was the only one who thought that as well. It felt weird at that place in the promo.
You guys need to get your head checked. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I didn't read into that in that way. Bryan says, I fought depression and poverty, head injuries, retirement, the authority. I fought everything. I left a job that could have paid me for the rest of my life because I wanted to fight. And Bryan says he's got a new dream. It's to become the AEW World Champion, and he's willing to fight for that. And he says this Sunday at Revolution, MJF better be ready to fight with everything he has. And if he doesn't, he's going to get his fucking head kicked in. With a tear in my eye, I watched that promo. A masterful performance from the greatest of all time, Bryan Danielson. The man. The number one professional wrestler of his or perhaps any generation. He's so damn good, I want to see him beat MJF. I don't think he will, but I want it. I want it now. I want it more than I did before this promo, and that's why Bryan Danielson is the best. Because he makes you believe, he makes you want it, and he makes you root for him. Even when you like the other guy, he can find a way to make himself the guy you like more. Amazing work from Bryan Danielson. He's the best. And Trans Am didn't think that weird thought there, John, either. I don't know I don't know who your peers are there thinking that odd thought about Bryan Danielson, but anyways. We can move on. Wow. The promo itself, though, John, apart from that misunderstanding that you had?
No, it was a good promo. Like, what really stood out was the fact that we actually got to hear him talk, because, like, last week he didn't really talk. It was really MJF holding the promo, so that's what made this different, and WWE should kind of take notes in a sense, like, that's what helped them this week as well. Like, when you have someone who doesn't talk, and then suddenly they do, it breathes new life into the story, because you get a new angle from it. When it's just one-sided, it just felt like MJF was doing the whole, like, promo against Bryan Danielson, and Bryan Danielson was just wrestling, which was fine, but it was just getting repetitive. And the fact that Bryan actually got to say his piece for once and actually get to say something of substance, like, it just felt fresh and new, and it's like, well, this is a different take on this. Like, we never really get to hear Bryan's side of the story, in a sense, where he says little things here and there, but it usually gets cut off pretty quickly. So this was nice where he got to actually just talk for once.
And he's so good. I don't know why people say he's not a great promo. He is such a great promo. I think the reason why people say Bryan Danielson isn't a great promo is the same reason why people said it about Brett. It's because they're so good in the ring that it just outshines everything else they do. But both those guys, complete total package. I'd say Bryan,
to be fair,
I'd say Bryan is a better promo than Brett. Overall. More consistent, John. More consistent. Brett had an era, but Bryan has had a decade of excellence.
Thing is, I feel like with Brett had promos that, I still remember this day. Like, Bryan, like, he's had moments, but I can't think of, like, promos, like, right off the top of my head kind of thing. With Brett, there's quite a few. So
He
that's
cut
it.
fewer
Brett,
of them, though. He cut fewer of them.
Well,
That's why they're more memorable. Because Bryan has cut
and
so many promos. It's like a weekly thing. It's a different business model now, right? Brett would only speak every so often, and it would be more impactful that way.
And this kind of showed this week as well. Like, Bryan hasn't talked that much in this feud, and then when he finally does, it meant more because of that. So maybe they needed more of that. I felt we also saw that in SmackDown as well. But we'll talk about that later.
Mm-hmm. We'll get to the WWE and everything on SmackDown later. We're sticking with AEW now. MJF, Bryan Danielson. It's a 1-hour Iron Man match for the AEW World Championships. It's MJF's first big defense. No one expects him to lose. But, man, I would not be mad at Bryan Danielson becoming the new AEW World Champion. I'd love to see it. I don't expect
love
it.
to see it.
No one expects it.
You're not picking him.
No, I think MJF is going to win. But I really want Bryan to win. And I will be cheering for Bryan Danielson like it's a real sporting event on Sunday. It is the only match, he is the only guy where I'm like, go Bryan, get him. He's that good. You know, there's something about him. Every other match, it's like, whatever, it's pro wrestling. With Bryan Danielson, it's something else. It's a higher level of pro wrestling. And MJF is lucky that Bryan wants to wrestle him for 60 minutes. And MJF better bring his A game because Bryan Danielson will. But, I'm not worried about that because Bryan Danielson could wrestle the Broom for a full hour and have a tremendous match with an inanimate object. So MJF just has to be there and not screw up, and it'll be a classic. If you get to watch Bryan Danielson move around in a ring for 60 minutes, consider yourself lucky. Whether he has an opponent or not, it really doesn't matter. So hopefully MJF does well, but the match will be great because Bryan Danielson is in it, and it lasts an hour. So it's an hour of the greatest wrestler in the world.
Well, you could say a Broom, he'd have a good match, fine. But with MJF, you say Iron Man match, that's potential for a match of the year candidate right there. So you feel like this could be something really special. So how good, I think it's going to be good. It's just how good will it be? That's going to be very interesting to find out.
Yep. Do you expect it to be the best match on this show? I do.
There's nothing else I'm really looking forward to be honest.
Yeah.
It's the most entertaining match.
All right, so we both pick MJF to win. We both expect it to be the match of the night, possibly match of the year. You think Bryan Danielson ever becomes AEW World Champion?
It's rough because, if he doesn't win here, you wonder if they'd ever give him the championship. So
yeah,
because he's had numerous opportunities already, and has failed. So it just feels like maybe it's not on the cards. Not everyone needs to win the championship.
MJF is great, and he's a big star, and he's young, and he's the future, and all of those things are true, and I love him, right? I'm a big MJF fan, okay? But let me present to you the other side. He's very polarizing in that locker room. People seem to hate him for a shoot, right? People seem to really not like MJF. And I'm just wondering, given the tumultuous nature of that AEW locker room, given the amount of unrest that has been in that AEW locker room, and given the controversial nature of their champion, given that he is a guy that a lot of people in that locker room do not like, do not want to be around, and do not want as the representative of the company, as the world champion, right? There are people in that company, we know for a fact because they've said it, that just don't like MJF, don't think he's a good guy, don't think he's a good representative of the company. And you would be hard-pressed to find anybody more respected than Bryan Danielson in the pro wrestling business. So he's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. everybody seems to love Bryan Danielson. Everybody seems to have great things to say about Bryan Danielson. Except for the giants in pro wrestling who says he bullies them, but I think he just bullies them because he tries to attack them. Tries to single leg Mark Henry and Big Show and stuff, but that's kind of all in fun.
Eddie Kingston?
What?
He always takes shots at Eddie Kingston. Have you noticed that?
At Eddie Kingston? Yeah, well, Eddie Kingston always takes shots at everybody. Eddie Kingston seems to have a chip on his shoulder. He quit AEW. He's in Ring of Honor now. So he's gone.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about Eddie Kingston anymore.
Okay.
And everybody's saying, oh, Eddie Kingston's going to be a world champion in AEW. Yeah. He could probably be a world champion in Ring of Honor. And that's good enough for him. Eddie Kingston's now going to be on a show that I'll never watch again. So there you go. Bye-bye, Eddie Kingston. See you later. But Bryan Danielson is one of the most respected and loved guys in pro wrestling as far as that locker room goes, as far as, good morale. He might be a good choice as the world champion right now to kind of right the ship and give everybody a champion that they could be happy with. And I don't think anybody in pro wrestling would really argue with Bryan Danielson as your top guy. And if you have Bryan Danielson as your top guy, you can argue that your championship is the most legitimate in all of pro wrestling. Because you can have your Roman Reigns, you can have your Cody Rhodes, but if Bryan Danielson is your champion, well, he adds a level of legitimacy that makes your belt seem, if not more important, at least on the level of the WWE Championship. Right now, if you look at the WWE title and the champion, and then you look at the AEW champion, nobody's really seeing Roman Reigns and MJF on the same level. Roman Reigns is a far bigger star, a far more established name in pro wrestling, and a far more legitimate world champion right now, right? As great as MJF is, I'm not taking anything away from him, but Roman's just been around longer. He's got more experience. But Bryan Danielson, as that AEW world champion, he'd bring a level of legitimacy to that belt, to the company. I don't think it'd be a bad thing for AEW to give him the belt right now. And I will always advocate for Bryan Danielson to be the world champion. Because, I'm completely biased, and I've always felt that every company that Bryan Danielson is in should give him the world championship, and he should beat everybody and never, ever lose and be world champion forever. That's how I would book it. I would book Bryan Danielson as the champion who never loses and is champion forever. And I think that's believable. Like, I don't think that's a ridiculous move. I think that's like, yeah, seems about right. He's good enough to do that. Who's better than Bryan? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you're not going to get an unbiased opinion from me on this match because, John, you've known me for years now. We've been doing this show forever. We've been doing the show when Bryan, when before the Yes Movement, when Daniel Bryan was just a guy wearing maroon shorts, And I was like, yeah, he should be the champion and never, ever lose. And I've been saying that pretty much his whole career, so that's how I feel about it. Give Bryan the belt, but I say that before every Bryan title match. So,
Well, I think it's fair to say that was probably, a highlight for you doing the show was interviewing Daniel Bryan at one point in time when you did that.
Was cool.
That was kind of huge.
I like talking to him too. I enjoyed talking to him. I really did. I've interviewed a lot of wrestlers over the years, and there haven't been many that I've remembered as like nice conversations, like legitimate just conversations that were enjoyable and fun that could have lasted longer, But Bryan
CM
and
Punk.
Huh?
CM Punk. That was
I
fun.
don't remember having a great conversation with CM Punk. No,
I
think
bad.
Huh?
It wasn't bad. It was all right for its time. It was early Punk too.
It was super early Dave too. It was like the first interview I did with CM Punk. That was way, 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 way back. So I don't think that was particularly great. I didn't love the conversation I had with him. I didn't relate to him that well. I'm talking about like guys that I've spoken to that I've been able to relate to on like a like a real level. Bryan and
Oh,
Cody.
like Cody.
Bryan
Yeah.
and Cody. I had great conversations with, and I was like, I think we could be friends. You know, it's like, if we knew each other in real life, I think we'd, like, get along quite well. You know, I don't know if I'd get along with CM Punk. But talking to Bryan,
Probably
you know,
not.
like, I said some things to Bryan, and he was laughing. He said some things back. I was laughing. Like, it was a good conversation. I was like, I like this guy. And Cody Rhodes, I didn't really know that much. Like, he wasn't a big star in WWE, but I talked to him, and I was like, I like this guy. There's something about him. You know. What I really liked about Cody, what struck me, was that he appreciated how lucky he was to be Dusty Rhodes' son, in a way. Like, because he had all this access to pro wrestling, and he was a pro wrestling fan, and he just thought it was cool. You know? He's like, yeah,
Right.
I saw Hacksaw Jim Duggan in my living room. I was like, this is awesome. And I was like, yeah, that would be awesome. And, like, it wasn't lost on him how cool it was to be Dusty's kid and to know all these wrestlers and to have this access to the business. Where a lot of wrestlers' sons that I've spoken to are kind of like, yeah, whatever, it's my dad's friend, no big deal, whatever. But Cody was like, yeah, it was cool. You know? Cody was excited about it. The guy, his passion for pro wrestling really shined through. I was like, wow, this guy loves wrestling. I was like, how are you going to get to the next level, Cody? Because you seem to really like it. There's something there. He figured it out, didn't he? He figured it out.
It took some time, but yeah, he got there.
Yeah, he's a hell of a talent. He's a hell of a talent. I'm looking forward to his match at WrestleMania. I really am. Bryan, MJF coming up. Revolution. I'm hoping for Bryan, but I'm thinking it's going to be MJF. What else is on this card that we care about? We've got Christian Cage versus the Jungle Boy in a no-holds-barred match. We've got the Elite defending the six-man tag titles against House of Black.
They changed it, didn't they? They said it's like a final burial match now on Rampage.
What that means?
I'm guessing it's like buried alive or something. Like
buried alive. You can't.
Well,
do
they
that.
kept. You saw what? Well, that's what they call it, final burial, right? But that you saw the promo that Jungle Boy cut, right, about like the grave and all that with Christian. Like
I saw him cutting a promo. I don't know what he said. He talked on Rampage tonight. I don't know what he said.
Well, he did it on Dynamite too, though. Dynamite and Rampage, kind of the same kind of thing, but with the grave and all that. Like,
oh yeah, he was digging a grave.
Yeah. So I guess we're getting this buried alive, final burial, whatever match. Not well, I guess no holds barred because anything goes, anyways, right? But that's what we're getting, I think.
Jungle Boy stealing my gimmick. What the hell's a Jungle Boy anyway? I'm gonna bury you alive. It's time to take it to the boneyard.
I mean, Undertaker got buried alive more often than not, no? Like, you said it was his match. He lost most of those matches.
I kept losing the buried alive, but I won all the hell in a cell.
Except Brock.
Except for Brock Lesnar. Didn't he win one against Brock, though?
No, he lost both of them against Brock.
He lost both of them.
Yeah.
Damn. I can't beat Brock in the cell or at WrestleMania. All right. What else is on this? Jamie the Hater defending her belt against Saraya, and Ruby Soho. Ruben Soho. Chris Jericho versus Ricky Starks in a match where people are banned. Samoan Joe against Wardlow for the TNT title. Jon Moxley and Hangman Page in a Man Must Die in Texas match. The Guns defending the tag titles. The Ass Boys defending their belts against the Acclaimed. Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. And Orange Cassidy and Danhausen, who won that Battle Royal on Dynamite this week.
Yeah,
which it was better than the Battle Royal last week.
Well, kind of, because it's more exciting. Doing it like it's more exciting because they're not all in there at the same time. But
Yeah.
I wasn't excited about the end result, though. I was like, wow, we had such better options. Darby Allin, Sting, FTR. And then we get Orange Cassidy and Danhausen. I'm like, wow, that was low tier.
And what was with the intervals for the teams coming out? Sometimes teams came out, it took like 5 minutes for the next team to come out, and then it was a team that came out, and then it was like 30 seconds later another team came out. There was no clear time intervals for the teams coming out. It was very strange. It was a weird battle royal, and it was 9 teams. Who was a 9-team battle royal?
Yeah, it was odd. I think it was mainly because of TV time, probably.
It was pure garbage.
They realized, well, they had to get that promo in at the end, so thankfully they had to cut time. It's probably best they did that.
So, Dark Order came out as number 1. Claudio and Wheeler came out at number 2, and they jumped Dark Order on the entrance. Then the Lucha Brothers came out. They're number 3. Then Roosh and Preston Vance are number 4. Aussie Open was number 5. Dark Order got eliminated first by Claudio and Wheeler. 2.0 was number 6. What are they called in AEW? Do they have another name other than 2.0 as a tag team? Angelo Parker and Daddy Magic? Is that just it?
I mean, that's just, they're part of Jericho Appreciation Society, the JAS.
Well, they were number 6 in the match. At one point, Roosh was standing on the top rope with his back turned to everybody, just trying to rip Rey Fenix's mask off. And I was like, dude,
I saw that, yeah.
Why would you do that in a battle royal? And I saw Claudio kind of look at Roosh like, I could just push him out of the ring. And then he's like, yeah, but that's not what's scripted here, so I'm not going to do that. But it's just, he was standing on the top rope for a long time just trying to pull a guy's mask off. And I'm like, dude, it's a battle royal. All somebody has to do is just push you. You're not looking, and you're eliminated very easily because you're on the top rope. If you get pushed, you're over the top rope, you're on the floor, you're done. That used to be a thing in Royal Rumbles. Like, the announcers would be like, oh, if he goes to the top rope, it's dangerous for him because he could get pushed out and, eliminated real quick. It was like a bad match for high flyers because if you went to the top rope, like, you were in danger. But now that doesn't seem to be a thing in battle royals because everybody does a springboard. Everybody goes to the top rope. You know what I mean? Like, it used to be like only a handful of guys would go to the top rope, but now everybody has to do a top rope move, some sort of flippy thing, so they can't be like, oh, it's dangerous to go to the top rope in battle royals because then they'd be taking away half the offense of half the match. So that's where we are in wrestling. But you know what I mean? I'm right about that, John. Well, I know I am.
It's luchadors, pretty much. It's that style of wrestling.
Yeah, but it's not just the luchador guys. It's not just Mexican wrestlers. You know what I mean? It's like...
it's a good influence of it.
No, but everybody does a springboard. Americans, Canadians, Japanese guys, everybody. Aussie Opens. Those guys springboarding, probably.
Not as much, but yeah, no,
Top
you're right.
Flight,
but again,
Top Flight was out at number 7. Those guys are going to the top rope constantly. I'm saying there's more high flyers now in pro wrestling than probably ever in the history of wrestling. In American wrestling, at least.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Sure. Without question.
I'm saying it doesn't lend itself very well to the Battle Royal. Battle Royals, it's like big, fat guys trying to push each other out of the ring. Giants and shit. Not little guys jumping off the top rope. Because that's not good for a Battle Royal. You get eliminated. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Daddy Magic got eliminated by Top Flight. Mike Bennett and Matt Taven were in at number 8. Sorry, it was a 10-man Battle Royal. A 10-team. I thought it was a 9. It was actually a 10. I miscounted. Taven and Bennett were 8. Danhausen and Orange were 9. And Butcher and the Blade came out at number 10. Like, ooh, Butcher and the Blade. I thought we were going to end with something strong. We end with Butcher and the Blade? And then eventually it was Butcher and the Blade and Orange Cassidy and Danhausen at the end of this thing. And Danhausen as Butcher and Blade try to push Orange out of the ring, right? They're kind of like putting the boots to him and trying to push him out of the ring. Danhausen comes from behind and gives the weakest, just kind of little toss to Butcher and Blade, and they have to like jump over and eliminate themselves. But the way Danhausen just kind of grabbed them and tossed them, he looked like he put no effort into it at all. Is he supposed to be magic where he doesn't have to lift? He touches you and you fly away? The finish of that match was not great. Not great. And it lasted a long time to get to Orange Cassidy and Danhausen winning on a night where Orange Cassidy had already wrestled against Big Bill in the opener, which I enjoyed more than Orange's match last week against Wheeler Yuta that opened the Dynamite show.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And I think it's because when I see Orange and Wheeler, it's just two similar guys of similar size doing a similar match to everybody else in AEW. You know what I mean? Like, everybody kind of wrestles that indie style. Wheeler and Orange basically did what they always do against each other or against anybody else. I know you liked it a little bit more than their average match, but, like, it's just too much of the same with Wheeler and Orange. It's just two similar guys mid-card that really have no depth of personality. You know what I mean? Like, what is Orange Cassidy? Well, he's got the glasses. He's like, he doesn't care. He's got his hands in his pockets and he wears jeans. Okay. Anything else? You know, like, what else is there to him? There's very little to him. There's very little, like, character development over the years, how he feels, what has changed. Nothing has changed. He's just Orange and he doesn't care. And Wheeler, it's like, who is he? Well, he's in Blackpool Combat Club. He gets slapped around by Claudio and Moxley, and he's like their little bitch. But he likes to hit hard. He likes to be violent. So those guys, like, I don't know. There's just not much there. And they're small. You know, they're roughly the same size. With Big Bill, it's like, oh, look at that guy. He's gigantic. And Orange had to work from underneath, which makes sense to me. The match just made more sense than the match last week. The match last week was two similar-sized guys doing a match that didn't really matter. This was like, oh, look at Orange getting beat up by Big Bill. I mean, it wasn't great, but I was just visually, it looked better. It looked more pro wrestling, you know? Hey, that's because Big Bill is so goddamn gigantic. Once in a while, you need that, you know? Not everybody has to be, like, the whole roster doesn't have to be 5'10", 185 pounds. You know? And when you have too many guys like that on the roster, when they start to wrestle each other over and over again, you kind of get disinterested. And I think that's where I'm at with a lot of this AEW stuff. It's like, man, everybody's just kind of roughly the same and doing the same thing. And I like differences in pro wrestling. I think that's what makes wrestling fun, like the differences in the characters.
I feel you on that one. I feel that makes a lot of sense. You know, it is nice to see giants in wrestling. You know, it was interesting to see that clash of style. I just felt like this style clash wasn't great for Big Bill, who they are seemingly trying to build up as a giant, and for him to lose the way he lost, I thought it just kind of killed a lot of momentum that he was building up. So that's why I didn't really enjoy it that much, where it's like, I like the idea of this, but the end result, I thought that hurt Bill more than it helped him.
I don't think they're trying to build Big Bill.
Well, that's sad, because like I think you had something there. Yeah, I think there was something there.
Maybe, but they have a lot of guys that they could do something with, and they don't. I mean, they got Keith Lee. Is he wrestling right now, Keith Lee? Is he about to wrestle in this main event? It's Keith Lee and Dustin Rhodes against Swerve and Parker Boudreaux in the main event of Rampage we're about to see. But, like, where's Lance Archer? Who would you rather see pushed in AEW, Lance Archer or Big Bill?
We saw Lance Archer last week, remember?
I know, but he doesn't have a push. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well,
yo, what the
hell?
Keith
Lee has a push. He's got this new look and all that.
What is this cloak that Keith Lee has. He looks like one of the Undertaker's druids in that thing. What is this cloak? Bizarre.
I mean, same gear though. Same gear, but
Yeah,
just
same
different
gear.
look kind of thing.
Yeah, does he have like gray hair now, Keith Lee? What happened? Did he get old?
I think he shaved all his head, and now I guess you're seeing all more of the whites because he shaved his head.
Is he just trying to look old because he's teaming with Goldust now? He's trying to be like the old guy team? The hell is this? Keith Lee just aged 20 years. What happened? He's so old. Look at that white beard. Is that Keith Lee's dad? What is going on? All right.
Well, they're getting jumped here.
Yeah, whatever. This match means nothing. The main event of Rampage, it means nothing. Okay, pay-per-view. Give me something. Christian Cage versus the Jungle Boy. Who wins this death burial match?
Well, it's Christian's comeback, right? I mean, you would think Christian would win, right?
I guess.
I mean,
I don't
that's
know.
my logic on that one. It's his first match back. I mean, usually you win your first match back. Usually.
They push Jungle Boy pretty hard, though. Man,
They
Christian,
do. It's tough.
Christian cut a tremendous promo this week on Dynamite, right? What a promo from Christian.
It was hard, too, because the crowd was, like, not giving him the chance to talk, but he still had to talk over the crowd. Like, you
Yeah.
could tell it was kind of bugging him a bit, but he powered through, though.
He said, Jungle Boy said he's going to win a singles championship in 2023. Well, he's wrong. I'm the one that's going to win a singles championship this year. Jungle Boy doesn't want to win a title for the prestige of the championship. He just wants to use it to get likes on social media and show his mom. Christian says Jungle Boy and his generation treat this business like a video game while he treats the business like an ATM machine and he's not done bleeding it dry. It's a goddamn beautiful line from Christian. On the one hand, saying a lot of these guys are video game style wrestlers. They're not treating it like it's supposed to be treated, and I am in agreement with that. And then on the other hand, he's like, I treat it like an ATM and I bleed it dry. And I love it. I thought that was a great line. And then he challenged Jungle Boy to a fight at Revolution. Christian says Jungle is his father's son. He's a no-talent hack who should be thankful he's got Hollywood good looks to get through life because this business is not for him. Taking shots at his dead father. Christian says Jungle Boy has no guts, no grit, and nothing of what Christian has inside. Then the lights go out and Jungle Boy appears on the screen. He's digging a grave. There's a tombstone with Christian's name on it. And Christian seemed disturbed by the whole scene. But before Jungle Boy appeared on the screen and did his little thing, Christian was delivering another masterful promo. He's so good. He's just great. One of the greatest of all time.
Like, Christian, if he wins, like, it's not going to be clean, clearly. Like, there's going to be a bunch of cheating. Luchasaurus might come back.
Yeah.
Maybe someone else would interfere. It's not going to be clean, but it just, to me, makes sense. Like, Christian doesn't come back just to lose right away, get buried. Like, to me, that's kind of odd.
Yeah, you might be right. You might be right about that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where they go. Because they're really pushing Jungle Boy. To have him lose here seems counterproductive to where they're going with him.
Well, where are they going exactly? They said singles title. They didn't say, he's going for this title. He's going after this guy in particular.
Yeah.
Him and Christian can last for a little bit. He can be buried for a little bit and then come back later on.
I'm going with Jungle Boy. I think Jungle Boy wins. All right, I'll go the other way because I'm not sure.
Well, it's AEW. You never know, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Derek John, one of the members of the team. Thank you, Derek. You joined over at join.ringsidereport.net. If you haven't joined yet, join like Derek did. Derek says, Keith Lee always had gray hair. He's been coloring his hair for a long time. I had no idea. I guess he just let his hair go natural, coloring his hair. Didn't want to have the gray hair, so he's been dyeing it. Surprising.
For how long though? Because
I don't know.
this seems new. Like it wasn't like this in WWE.
Maybe he's been dyeing it for years. Just for men, you can put the little, they paint the little stuff in there.
Well, it reminds me of Bischoff.
Like,
remember, Bischoff was always like black, jet black, right?
Yeah.
But when they shaved his head, it was, white underneath. So it just reminds me of that.
Would you do it if you went like fully white? If your hair started turning white like tomorrow? And you were like half white or like fully white hair in like 2 years, would you dye your hair black to stay like looking young as a pro wrestler?
Because I had the Final Fantasy VII music, and it works well with the character in Final Fantasy VII because he has like white hair. So I'm like, well, that kind of fit with the character in a sense. So would fit with the music. So it wouldn't be that bad, to be honest. And it's a different look too. Maybe that's the way he's looking at it too. It's a different look.
Yeah.
Kind of changes him up a little bit. So, plus, it's probably easier to just let it be natural than having to fix it all the time.
As you get older, and you keep wrestling, because I know you're never gonna retire, right?
Oh yeah, well, of course not. Yes, until I die. Yeah.
I don't think you're gonna retire from pro wrestling. You love it too much. Like when you get older and your hair does like turn white, could you let it turn white? Probably. Could you let it turn white and then grow a big white beard and maybe not go to the gym as much, let yourself go, and just go by Moondog Johnny North? Just go full Moondog. I think that's what every wrestler should do as they get old, just like become a Moondog. I don't have Moondogs anymore. I miss the Moondogs.
The beard would be the hardest part because I shave too much. I never let it grow out, so it can't grow.
That's what I'm saying. When you get old, become a Moondog. Let it grow.
It would take years for it to grow for a full beard.
All right.
Years. So that's the problem with that.
Are there still Moondogs out there? Is there anybody working a Moondog gimmick? Because that was a thing for a long time where, there were the original Moondogs, but then there were other guys, Moondogs here, Moondogs there. I could be Moondog Dave if I wanted to be, I think. It's not a thing anymore.
You could. No.
When he was released by WWE, someone took a picture of Keith Lee and he had gray hair. How about that? Old man Keith Lee. I love it.
Well, he's actually, is he not even 40, I think?
No, I don't think so.
He's probably late 30s, but still.
Let's see. Keith Lee, pro wrestler, 38.
There you go.
Yeah, he's not an old guy. You just got white hair. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes people go white real early. Sometimes people go bald real early. Sometimes people lose their minds immediately. All right. I'm getting there. So I got Jungle Boy winning. You've got Christian. How about the Elite defending against the House of Black, the 6-man AEW tag team titles?
Should be a good match, I think. Good mesh of styles in that one, I think. Good back and forth action. I expect it to be at least 15, 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping for House of Black to win because I feel like that's where the story needs to progress. I could see the Elite winning it back, but I feel like House of Black kind of needs to get some big victory because they haven't really got that big victory yet.
They need something.
Yeah.
Is this it, though? Is this what they get? Because the Elite...
I think so.
The Elite haven't really defended these belts. They won them in that best of 7 against the Pac and the Lucha Brothers, but they haven't really done much with them. They just dropped them right away?
They defended against AR Fox and Top Flight twice.
Yeah, but come on.
Just saying they did something. I know it's not long reign, but they also don't need a long reign, I think. I feel like House of Black needs something. The Elite doesn't really need anything at this point. They're already made. They're 2-time champs already.
If they drop the belts, would you send Kenny after MJF post-Revolution?
It opens up a lot of avenues, right? Kenny for that, Young Bucks for the tag team titles. A lot of things could happen. So I feel like you kind of need to go in that direction.
Yeah, I think House of Black probably wins. And there's been so much talk about Kenny and the Bucks and their contracts expiring later this year. Maybe you take the belts off of them now just to kind of figure out where you are with them. I don't know. All right, so we're unanimous on the House of Black winning. I think that match should be good. Jamie Hayter defending the AEW Women's World Title against Saraya and Ruby Soho in a triple threat. I think this is where Saraya gets the belt.
Wow.
She's a big star.
I
think they want to make her champion at some point. Why not now?
I agree. I just don't think it's going to happen right now. I think it should happen. I feel like she's the top heel, and it would get a great reaction, I think. A great negative reaction. And you need someone that people want to see lose. So she'd be perfect to be champion, I think. But I feel they're going to give Hayter at least one pay-per-view victory. So I think she'll probably win this one. Maybe Saraya wins double or nothing. But I think Hayter will get through this one at least. Probably pins Ruby.
Okay. I've got Saraya winning, pinning Ruby too.
Okay.
Right.
Watch Ruby win the match.
Yeah. I don't see that, but you never know. Jericho against Ricky Starks. Jericho has lost a few of these matches against Ricky Starks, right? They've had 2, and he's lost them both. So he's going to win here.
1, no?
Just 1? I thought they had 2. Was it just 1?
I think it's just 1. Maybe they had a tag match or something.
Okay.
But just one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
This is the second one. And yeah, I think Ricky's going to win this one too.
Oh, yeah? I think Jericho wins this one. Because the Jericho Appreciation Society are banned from ringside. Everybody expects Ricky Starks to win. Jericho's been losing a lot of matches. And it's just that old thing with Jericho's career. Every time you think Jericho's going to for sure lose, he wins. And he's going to win here. And Jericho, you may beat him once, you may beat him twice, but he will come back and he will get a win back. If not 2, if you beat him twice. Jericho's not going to let that slide. He's going to beat Ricky Starks. He always wins.
I think he's right there, by the way, behind Jericho at this point. It's kind of ironic.
It's funny, we're talking about this match. Jericho's on commentary on Rampage, and here comes Ricky Starks to attack him from behind. And I guess that's how we're going to... That's how we're going to end Rampage, with Ricky Starks and Jericho brawling on the stage. Referees and agents jumping in to try and separate them. Because Ricky Starks was attacked by the Society this week. Chris Jericho beat Peter... On Dynamite, right?
On Dynamite, yeah.
Yeah, so Starks out for revenge, and of course they've got the match on Sunday. Jericho beat Peter Avalon by pinfall this week on Dynamite. Ricky Starks came out to stop Jericho from beating up Avalon after the match, but Daniel Garcia and Jake Hager came out and started beating up on Ricky Starks, and they threw a beating his way there on Dynamite. So Starks and Jericho, yeah, you know, John, Jericho, every time you think he's going to lose, he winds up winning, you know? This seems like a match set up for him to lose, so I think he's going to win.
Well, it's just I feel Jericho really doesn't get anything off winning this match. And I feel this would help Ricky because this is his biggest match to date. So I think it would be big for Starks to win this match. And Jericho, you know, losing this match doesn't hurt him whatsoever. He can bounce back easily from this. So, I mean, you could be right, though, because it does feel like this is set up for Jericho to lose, and Jericho does usually win those matches. But I feel in this case, they're going to give it to Starks. But you could be right. I'm just going to go with Ricky, though. And interesting that our picks are vastly different so far.
Well, we've picked we both picked MJF to win. We both picked the House of Black to beat the Elite. But I went with Jungle Boy. You went with Christian. I went with Saraya. You went with Jamie Hayter. And I'm going with Jericho, and you're going with Richard Starks. How about Samoan Joe against Wardlow for the AEW TNT title? Given the fact that Will Hobbs is waiting in the wings here, he had a ladder match with Commander, who's a new guy, Sammy Guevara, Ortiz, AR Fox, Eddie Kingston, Action Andretti, and Konosuke Takeshita. And Powerhouse Will Hobbs wound up winning the match to earn a TNT title shot on Dynamite next week against the winner of Wardlow and Joe. And since Joe is... Well, is Hobbs a babyface or a heel?
I guess heel.
Is he?
I think he's trying to be a heel, but it's one of those things where the crowd cheers him. But I think he's supposed to be a heel.
Is he supposed to be a heel? I thought he was trying to get sympathy from the crowd with those promos and his brother was murdered in front of him, all that stuff. Like, I thought he's supposed to be a babyface. I can't tell.
I thought he was like hardened because of that. Like he's hardened, like doesn't like anybody because of that.
In this match, he appeared to be a heel, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like he's going to wrestle Wardlow on Dynamite. So Wardlow's going to beat Samoa Joe because Wardlow's a babyface. That's my guess.
Well,
I think Wardlow takes the TNT title back from Samoa Joe.
Like I have the same prediction, but not the same way of looking at it. Just because ROH has started now, so I feel like they want to just focus Joe on that. So not having him 2 titles. That's the way I look at that.
Makes sense.
But same outcome.
Yeah, we both have Wardlow winning. That ladder match was something on Dynamite.
Best match on Dynamite this week, easily.
It was a wild one. That Action Andretti Falcon Arrow off the top of the ladder onto another ladder with Sammy Guevara when he had to land there and Action almost busted in his own knee giving that move, right? That looked horrific.
And Commander, that jump, that was fantastic.
Yeah. He's got some good high-flying maneuvers. He was a good addition to this match. The only problem was you didn't really expect him to win because you never seen him before. It's like, who's this guy? And the crowd was really into Takeshita. Like, they wanted him to win because I think a lot of AEW fans see Takeshita and say, wow, he's really good. But every time we see him, he's always losing. So when he was climbing the ladder, it felt like, oh, here he comes. He's going to win. But then I think Action Andretti stopped him, and the crowd was like, eh. Like at one point, Takeshita was climbing the ladder, about to win the match, and Andretti jumped on the ladder and stopped him, and Andretti's supposed to be another babyface, and the crowd was not too happy about it. So there were some moments in that match that were kind of weird. That blue thunderbomb that Takeshita hit Commander with off the top of the ladder was ridiculous. Sammy hit a swanton off the top of a ladder through another ladder on Andretti. Some crazy stuff. I don't like that thing, though, that Sammy Guevara does where he's standing on top of the ladder and then he goes and he's like, I'm crazy. It's like, if you're so crazy, why do you keep doing that stuff? You know full well what you're doing, Sammy Guevara. Like, one time doing it is a cool moment, but every time you do a big dive, you're going to turn to the crowd and go like, oh, I'm crazy. And he's trying to he's supposed to be a heel, But that's kind of like a babyface move. Like, hey, look at me. I'm so crazy. I'm going to do this stuff for you fans. And it's like, dude, you're a heel. What are you doing? I don't know why he has to do that. You got to stop doing that, Sammy Guevara. I mean, hell of a move, but don't do that thing. I don't like it.
I feel like it works because even despite doing that, people will still chant like you still suck. Like he can do all crazy dives and they'll still chant that. That's what I love about Sammy right now. Great heel.
I feel like his heat has died down. We don't see him making out with Ty Conti as much on TV, right? He kept doing that and people were really hating on him, and now she's not around.
Well, they kind of, he's just like a lackey again. That's the problem. Like when he broke away from Jericho's group, he was kind of emerging as a star, but now he's just back in the position he was again, where he's just a sidekick. It kind of, cooled him down a bit, sadly.
Yeah. The finish of this match was terrible, though, John. Terrible.
Talking about the holding the ladder thing?
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have you seen that? I've seen that so many times in wrestling.
The referees are helping the guy win. You can't do that. So Hobbs pounces the ladder that had Takeshita on it, right? He gives a big pounce to the ladder, and then he breaks the ladder in the process that he has to climb the ladder now. So the referees all notice 3 referees jump in the ring and start holding the ladder for Hobbs to climb it. That's not how these matches work. When the referees do not jump in for anybody else trying to climb the ladder, but they jump in for the guy at the end of the match who's about to win, it makes the whole thing seem tremendously fake. Because the referees are like, oh shit, he's the guy that actually has to make it to the top. Let's hold this busted ladder to make sure he can do it. It's too fake. It's too much. They've gone too far. 3 refs holding the ladder while the guy holds it. Like, if you're going to do that, you have to have the refs holding the ladder for everybody else that climbs the ladder, which they did not do. They only hold the ladder for the guy who's supposed to win. Because he busted the ladder, and it's like, uh-oh, we need him to climb. Once I saw them jump in to the ring, I was like, guys, let's not make it too obvious, please. It was awful. How are you going to defend that?
Well, the defense is like you've seen this so many times in wrestling, in so many big-time matches where they've just held the ladder, and, you know, it does look bad, but sadly, like, that's happened, unfortunately.
Tag matches where the tag team partner holds the ladder, not 3 referees. I've never seen a crowd of refs trying to preserve the sanctity of a match. Like, that was egregious.
Well, you just don't remember it, though, but it's happened in many Money in the Bank ladder matches in the past.
Multiple refs?
It's multiple refs. It happened in the Cena versus Edge match at Unforgiven in 2006. There was like 3 refs held them on the finish when they did the attitude adjustment through the table.
Well, maybe the camera wasn't right on them when they did it. Like, the camera was like
the camera
focused
was
on
bad.
the refs.
I'm not gonna disagree with that, but like that's the main problem, was just how it was shot. Like, to me, the refs kind of did what they're supposed to do, is like help the situation, but the production crews also got to help the situation, where it's like, don't put the focus on them, because then that looks bad.
And it did look
and
bad.
WWE can hide it better. That's it.
Yeah, the match was pretty good, but the finish was not my favorite. Riho beat Toni Storm. Rolled up Toni Storm off a minor distraction from Britt Baker. Toni went after Britt after the match. Saraya jumped in and brawled with Jamie Hayter. They were stumbling into each other with some horrible-looking strikes. Saraya and Jamie Hayter, I hope that wasn't a preview of the match, because that looked awful. It looked like they were going to fall down throwing punches to each other's, like, side, I guess. I mean, they were hitting wind. Awful.
I won't disagree with that, but I thought Toni Storm was fantastic in the match with Riho, though.
Yeah, the match was good. I didn't like the finish, though.
I didn't like the finish, but whatever. That's the story that they're telling. But to me, Toni Storm really stood out as like an amazing star in that match. Like, the fact, to me, like, she kind of carried that match, and she made Riho look good, and she still made herself look good in the process. Like, to me, like, she's one of the best women wrestlers going today.
Yeah, she's very good. But she shouldn't be losing. Because she's very good, she shouldn't be losing to Riho in that fashion. I mean, where's Riho been? And then she beats Toni Storm like that? I don't know. I was disappointed in the outcome, because I thought, Toni deserves better.
But it's the comeback match. Like you said, Riho hasn't been there for a while, so that's her comeback match. She's going to win her comeback match. She won tonight on Rampage, so they're building Riho up again to be a challenger again. So that's why. But I'm sure Toni gets a rematch. She's probably going to win that match.
Building up a babyface challenger, perhaps for a new heel champion. Saraya,
possibly, sure. Yeah.
Well, that was my pick. Hook beat Matt Hardy with a Taz mission to retain the FTW title on Dynamite this week. It was actually the most wrestling match-looking thing I've ever seen Hook do. He actually had a wrestling match with Matt Hardy. It wasn't just like a few suplexes and Action Bronson music, and that was it, you know? It wasn't bad.
Well, it definitely was.
It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad.
There was Action Bronson music. Can't deny that, but...
Yeah,
like,
but I mean, that wasn't
right.
all there was, you know? Usually it's Action Bronson music, suplex, Action Bronson music, next segment, you know? But this was like Action Bronson music, wrestling match. Action Bronson music. I'm into the music. It's pretty good.
Well, I think it's two things. Like, one, I don't think Matt Hardy likes getting thrown around a lot. So,
yeah.
And two, I think he wanted to have a wrestling match.
Well, that's it. Hook couldn't have his typical match here with Matt Hardy, and I appreciated that.
Well, it's good to see him do something different, you know, outside the box kind of thing, you know. I think it kind of, to me, showed me that, you know, Hook is very small, and it's going to be very difficult for him facing a lot of the top tier talent, because it's going to be tougher to face a guy like, you know, say if he faced ever against like a Will Hobbs or something.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit difficult to have that kind of match that he has.
Yeah, he made Matt Hardy look quite big, right?
Matt looked huge. And
yeah.
It's like, Matt's a decent size, but he's not that big.
No. Yeah, no, you're right about that. Hook is quite small. But people like him. So he's got that going for him. Okay, Jon Moxley cut a promo and was bleeding before the promo even started. I mean, usually it's his matches where he's bleeding, but this week he cut a promo covered in blood. It was from the match last week. But still, I just found it funny that even in his promos, he's still bleeding. Like, every time you see this guy, he's covered in blood. No matter what. No matter what. They couldn't have done a promo with him this week, you know, not after a match. No. They had to do a promo with him from last week after a match where he's covered in blood. And he talked about Hangman and all that stuff. And then Hangman did a promo from like a horse stable or something. I don't know where the hell he was. And he says he's going to take everything from Moxley on Sunday, including his spot at the top of the food chain in AEW. Hangman also said he hates violence, but will be the most bloodthirsty son of a bitch on Sunday to beat Moxley. If Hangman hates violence, isn't he in the wrong career? You're a professional wrestler. Shouldn't you, maybe not love violence, but not hate it? I hate violence. Your whole job is to beat people up in a wrestling ring. What do you mean you hate violence? And then Hangman says it's Texas death on Sunday, but there's only two ways out. Either you live or you die. I don't think either man will die. I think they'll both live. Those will be the ways out. They will both live, hopefully. But hating violence is a little strange for a pro wrestler to say, but yeah, he said it. Moxley loves violence, obviously. He loves the taste of his own blood. Hangman, Moxley, Texas death. I'm going to say Hangman takes it because Moxley is, 2-1 in the series? Give one to Hangman.
You know, you might be right, but I'm going to go with Moxley because they keep saying this is going to be the end. And, like, to me, like you say, like, it's 2-1 Moxley. So for this to be the end, Moxley needs to win this match to make it 3-1. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with Moxley on this one.
I could see it being the end where Hangman just beats the hell out of Moxley, leaves him laying, and then Moxley takes a vacation.
That could happen, sure.
Whatever happened to that vacation he was supposed to take after All Out? He was like, I was supposed to take a vacation, but then CM Punk beat up everybody, so I had to stay around. And it's like, all right.
Well, didn't he kind of disappear for a couple weeks?
I mean,
I
don't remember. Did he?
I thought he disappeared or he just didn't wrestle for a couple weeks. I remember that.
I don't know. He's on TV bleeding every week. Doesn't he need a break for his face to heal or something? I don't know. I'm going with Hangman. Johnny's going with Moxley. Texas death match. And I think we have one final match here to cover here on AEW Revolution. It's the Guns, a.k.a. the Ass Boys, defending their newly won AEW Tag Team titles against the Acclaimed, Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett, and Orange Cassidy and Danhausen. I think the Acclaim take the belts back. They are
Okay.
They are over like crazy. As they say, everybody loves the Acclaimed. Everywhere they go, they get huge reactions. They got huge reactions again this week, I want to say, right? Because the Ass Boys watched the Casino Battle Royal from the stage. They advanced on Danhausen and Orange Cassidy after they won. Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett attacked Danhausen and Orange Cassidy from behind. The Acclaim show up and make the save, and they got a huge ovation. When they came out to make the save, people went nuts for the Acclaimed. They're still big time over. I think you give them the belts back.
I think you do too, but I just feel like in a 4-way tag, it's like you could build it again to another like tag match, just straight up tag. So I think the Guns might retain on this one. They might actually go to a brand new tag team possibly too, but I think the Guns will retain.
I could see them going with Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah. Well, watch Orange Cassidy.
Oh my God. You're going to give Orange two
it's
belts?
AEW. I mean, they did it to Pac, right? Like, I don't know what happened to him, but he was double champ for a while.
Yeah, what happened to him? Weird.
Well, people come and go.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, we are going away from AEW. That is AEW Revolution. I'll be back here on Sunday night right after AEW Revolution to recap the whole damn thing. Right?
Whenever it ends.
Whenever it ends, I'll be on here on the Ringside Report Network to preview or review AEW's Revolution coming up Sunday night. My brother will be with me. We'll be partying. We'll be having a good time.
We'll be traveling to the very distant future.
What?
If you check the post show, it says 2203. You're gonna need production to fix that. I mean, I don't know about you. I won't be alive for that one, but it'd be funny if AEW still around in those times.
But 2203. Oh, it does say 2203 on our post show title. Yeah, we should change that. It's 2023, not 2203. Huh?
Hopefully YouTube's still around at that point in time. Wait and see. If T1 Race is still around.
I mean,
we won't know.
In the year 2203, I don't really care at this point. Everybody you know will be dead. Everybody.
Yeah.
In 2203, I mean, come on. Let's be real. Although, science, you never know. My kids might make it. You know, my daughter's about to be turn 1 in 2023. You think she can make 2203? She only has to live to be about 170 years old, something. She can do that.
Good luck.
People might live that long in the future is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? People might live that long, John. All right. My daughter's going to be 1 next month. Next month.
It's after WrestleMania.
She's turning 1 already. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Crazy. My son's 5. My daughter's going to be 1. Look at me. I'm only 16 years old. How did I do it? Crazy. We've been doing the Ringside Report show for almost 20 years, and I'm only 16. I mean, it's nuts. I don't know what's happening.
Underage, having kids. It's always
underage and living the life. Okay, I'm not really 16. Just in case you were wondering. Okay, Jimmy, Uso, and Solo Sikoa, it was their week. They were very busy. They had a lot of things to do, right? Jimmy and Solo started off Raw. They cut a promo, talked about their family. And Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens trying to break up the bloodline, but they will fail. And then the Street Profits show up and started taunting Jimmy and Solo about where Jay is. Montez sang Jay's name in a really weird falsetto voice. He needs to never do that again. That Jay, like what the hell was it? No goddamn singing in the falsetto, Montez. You don't come off cool or tough or anything but Weird, lame, and just like a guy I don't want to see on TV. No
I'm
more
more offended
Montez
by
singing.
I was more offended by the WrestleMania spoof that him and Bianca did, but
It wasn't good either.
I was very offended. I'm actually like, I don't want to see any more WrestleMania spoofs just because of how bad they've all been so far.
Why they keep using the couples too? Becky and Seth, Bianca and Montez. Like, what is this?
Well, it's actually not a bad idea in a sense. Like, it's nice to see, them recognizing the couples because they don't actually recognize them on television that much. So
It is a bad idea when
nice.
you see the finished product, though. God damn, these commercials have been bad.
Yeah, they've been bad.
Anyways, Jimmy and Solo wrestled the Street Profits on Raw in the opening match. They won after Solo hit a Samoan spike on Dawkins. Jimmy and Solo beat up the Profits after the match. They set Montez up with a chair around his head for the running butt move in the corner, but Kevin Owens making the save, super kicking Solo before hitting a stunner on Jimmy and then escaping. Kevin Owens continuing to attack the Bloodline and trying to break those guys up. Separate from Sami Zayn, I believe Kevin even spoke backstage. I think he was interviewed at some point, right? He said he didn't need anybody. He's going to take out the Bloodline. He's going to do it by himself.
Yet they all wear the same dark hoodie, though. But okay.
Who, Kevin, Sammy, and Jimmy, and Jey Uso. They're all wearing the same black hoodie when they jump in from the crowd.
So I don't know if there's some sort of Black Hoodie Society going on, but looks like it.
I think it's just the uniform they give them when they're trying to sneak through in the crowd, right? Because it's, you have the black hoodie, you have the hood up, and then you can walk through the crowd without getting stopped. And if you go fast, they have a few guys in black hoodies, and it's just how they get you ringside through the crowd without causing a stir. I don't think it's any storyline. I think it's just what they give them to wear when they're coming through the crowd so as to not cause too much attention.
Right. It's just, to me, it kind of stands out a little bit. They're all wearing almost exactly the same thing, but
I don't know.
I get you.
So on SmackDown, we had a lot of Roman Reigns stuff, which we can get to. Let's just stick to Raw here for a second and what happened on Raw. Brock Lesnar coming out to the VIP lounge. MVP comes out and says, I usually come out first and introduce you, Brock. I don't know what's going on. Brock invites MVP into the ring, but MVP doesn't want to because he assumes he's going to be assaulted by Brock Lesnar. Brock says he's all about business, and he's waiting to hear MVP sell him and the people on a fight against Omos for WrestleMania. So Brock wants to be convinced. MVP then cuts a promo about Brock and how he's able to toss any man around, but not a giant like Omos. How Brock is so dangerous, but Omos is so big, and he won't be able to do it, and it'll be a big fight at WrestleMania. He does his whole promo speech, and Brock likes it. And high-fives MVP and says, okay, I accept the challenge. What?
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
What do you mean? What's wrong with that? That's how we're making matches for WrestleMania now? Well, MVP, I don't think Omos is really worthy. I'll let you sell me on it. Then MVP cuts this promo, and they're like, and then Brock goes, yeah, all right. That sounds good. You convinced me. Didn't take much. Did not take much. Brock wants to shake on it, so they shake hands, and he wants to have a drink to commemorate this moment that they made a match for WrestleMania. MVP wants to drink champagne. Brock Lesnar says, I'm a farmer, and I grow the good stuff. And I'm like, what's he about to pull out here? Brock reaches into his jacket. I'm like, he's like, I'm a farmer, and I grow the good stuff. I was like, is Brock Lesnar about to pull out a blunt on Raw to smoke with MVP? Like, what is happening? But he was talking about moonshine, which didn't come across, I don't think, to everybody. I think some people were confused. I was seeing people on Twitter like, what's Brock drinking? So Brock pulls out a flask and takes a big swig, and MVP still wants to drink the champagne, but Brock is offended. MVP asks him, what exactly are we drinking? And Brock Lesnar says, we call it White Lightning, which I understood right away as moonshine. Of course, from the famous George Jones song, White Lightning. John, you know the song?
I don't, but I figured, like you said, it was moonshine of some kind. Like, I don't think a lot of people got it because a lot of people don't probably have that. That's why. No,
You don't know that song, White Lightning?
I don't think so, no.
Ooh, White Lightning. Well, in North Carolina, way back in the hill, lived my old pappy, and he had him a still. He brewed white lightning till the sun went down, and he filled him a jug, and he passed it around. Mighty, mighty pleasing, pappy's corn squeezing. Psh, ooh, white lightning. That's for you.
No,
I had to do that because of Brock, man. You don't know that song? It's a great song. George Jones is my favorite. Shoo, white lightning. Tremendous. Look it up, John. It's a good song. I don't do it justice. I'm no George Jones, let me tell you. That guy was the best. AJ likes it. That was for AJ.
I think AJ likes you singing. That's why.
Ooh, white lightning. Oh, you got to sing a little George Jones, baby. So they made the match, and MVP drank the white lightning, and he spat it out, which Brock didn't like, so he hit the F5 on MVP. Right?
Like he had to wipe his face off and all that. That's what he was upset about.
Mm. So Brock and Omos is actually happening, or as Brock calls him, Omos.
Right? Yeah.
It's actually happening. It's a real match. They're doing it. And they're really doing Bobby Lashley and Bray Wyatt. Like, that's actually happening, too. Ugh.
I mean, of all the options, Brock took the best option for him. Like, that's the best match for Brock. It's going to make Brock look good, throwing a guy around over 7 feet tall, instead of having a Firefly, Funhouse, whatever match. That was the best move for Brock. It's going to suck for Bobby.
So is just Omos here just to lose to Brock? Be a big guy to lose to Brock? That's what it is? That's the attraction?
Well, a big guy getting thrown around. That's huge. I'd love to see that. Him taking Germans belly to bellies. That's going to be crazy.
You might kill Omos.
Yeah, maybe. That's fun.
Apparently this was a match that Vince McMahon himself was pushing for.
It was a good idea.
Sounds about right. Two gigantic guys. Makes sense. It's not a match that anybody really, I don't think is excited about because Omos is just not a big star. But it's what we're doing. Brock and Omos. Cody Rhodes then wrestled on Raw. He wrestled Chad Gable. I thought the match was pretty damn solid. Cody winning with the crossroads. Got a short promo after the match, says we're 33 days away from WrestleMania, and he is going to Smackdown to meet Roman face-to-face. I like that match with Chad Gable. I thought it was excellent. Apparently, Gable was one of the guys that Cody was trying to get over to AEW at one point. Which makes sense. Talented guy.
I thought it was a good match. I wasn't big on the finish. I don't know why. He had to do that little comedy spot with Otis, and then he had to throw Otis out, and then beat Gable.
Yeah.
I felt that was a little overkill and not necessary, but for whatever reason that happened.
But man, did Gable take a good crossroads.
Oh yeah, he's a fantastic bumper worker, no question about it. Like if anything, that probably was the best outing he's had in a long time. because he
Yeah.
usually doesn't take him very seriously, and I feel Cody treated him very serious, except for the ending for whatever reason.
I don't know. They got to do something with Otis. Otis wrestled a match against
Gargano.
Johnny Gargano. Otis had the male models and the Maxine model ringside with him, and there was a lot of shenanigans with them. Gargano was kind of looking at Maxine, which distracted Otis, which led to Gargano hitting a DDT to beat Otis. Not a great way to reboot Otis, you know? Have him just lose
Is it
to
really
his...
a reboot?
Well, I don't know. They're putting him with the models. They're trying to do something. It's some sort of angle. Didn't
It's
seem
an
to
angle,
work.
but
Yeah, I don't know.
not reboot.
Okay. Sorry.
Forgiven.
Killing me. Asuka beats Carmella with an armbar. Asuka cut a promo, called out Bianca Belair. Bianca came out, says, I don't know what you just said in Japanese, but I don't like your tone. And by the way, I'm the EST, and you can't spell WrestleMania without EST. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's true. You can't spell wrestling without EST either. A lot of things you can't spell without EST. Anyways, I was trying to come up with another word, but I couldn't. Carmella pushed Asuka into Bianca after the match, and I guess it set up some sort of Carmella versus Bianca match for next week, which, whatever. And then we had Candice LeRae beating Piper Niven with a roll-up after Piper shoulder tackled Nikki Cross outside the ring, which led to a distraction. Candice LeRae getting the win, and Nikki Cross, I guess, now a friend of Candice LeRae in some way. They got something happening. 2 straight women's matches that were not great. Either of them, really.
No, this is where the show was starting to go downhill quite a bit, and I don't know if the show ever truly recovered.
It didn't.
I felt
because then we got a promo from The Miz, right? It didn't recover.
Got worse.
Yeah, The Miz started talking. Says, oh, my wife Maurice got me this great gift, and it's to be the host of WrestleMania. Which, how did she get that? How does Maurice...
Well, favors.
Well, let's be honest, John. If Maurice asks you to do anything, you're pretty much going to do it, right? What are you going to say to Maurice?
Well,
You going to say no to Maurice? I'm not saying no to Maurice. It'll be crazy. I'll say no to The Miz, but Maurice? She's one of our people. You can't say no to her.
I respect Renee, and, Renee would be upset, so.
Who? Renee Paquette?
No, Dupree. They used to date, those two. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Who cares?
Well,
she's
I
married
like
to The
Renee's
Miz. She's got kids with The Miz. Who cares about Renee Dupree and Maurice's past relationship? I don't give a shit. I don't know why you're bringing that up. Who cares?
Well, I don't get involved with stuff like that. People in past relationships and that.
What?
Stay away from that. It's
okay,
messy.
I don't. Again, you're confused about how life works. Maurice is fantastic. Maurice is the best, and nobody's saying no to Maurice. Maybe Renee and you, I guess, but you guys are weird. Seth Rollins shows up, and he's like, hey, Miz, and Miz is all upset. Seth says, hey, I've been trying to get a hold of Logan Paul, and I know maybe you could get him on the phone. And Miz is like, oh, I'm not going to do that because you're a goofball in a stupid jacket, and I don't like you. So then Seth super kicks the Miz, takes Miz's phone, and finds Logan Paul's number in his phone, calls Logan Paul live on the show, and then Seth asks Logan, how's Jake doing after his tough day yesterday, which was hilarious because his brother Jake lost his first boxing match to Tommy Fury on Sunday. I thought
Split decision, though.
Yeah, but he lost. And I thought Seth rubbing it in was pretty damn good. I mean, Jake Paul's not even involved, Here's Seth how's Jake doing? I thought that was good. And then he challenged Logan to show up on Raw next week, and Logan accepted, and then Seth curb stomped The Miz before leaving the ring. So we are headed towards Logan Paul versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, and I assume that the official challenge will be laid down coming up Monday in Boston. Another challenge should be laid down Monday in Boston. Austin Theory and John Cena. Theory cut a short backstage promo about Cena and the U.S. title. I do believe Austin Theory will be wrestling John Cena on WrestleMania, and Cena is set to show up in his hometown of Boston on Monday. We'll probably get that, if not official, at least on the way to being official, coming up Monday. So I expect those two matches to be made, if not Monday, then in the next couple weeks, because we're, what did Cody say, 33 days away from Mania? And that was 5 days ago, so 28, roughly, if my math is correct. Theory and Cena on Monday. John Cena coming back Monday. The champ is here.
Well, you can go ahead if you want to keep saying that, but
I'll keep going.
Did you notice that they blurred out Cena's shirt, his green shirt, for whatever reason?
No.
When they had the package for Cena, for some reason his green shirt was blurred out, and I think it's because of the hand signal that he does, right? Because I guess that's
the double thing. Because you
yeah,
can't do that anymore.
I don't think you can do that anymore, apparently. So
what?
They blurred it out. Yeah.
But that's a John Cena classic, thing. But it's the okay sign you're not supposed to do anymore because it's like a secret racist thing or something.
Something apparently that's labeled as bad to do now. So.
But it's John Cena, what?
Well,
whatever.
They just won't sell that shirt anymore. They have enough, Cena color the rainbow shirts to sell. They'll survive without that particular green one when they have probably 3 other green ones they could sell.
Okay. Maybe they'll bring back the Ruck Fools t-shirt. Bobby Lashley beat Elias with a Hurt Lock submission in a match that, shouldn't have happened. Bobby talked about Brock Lesnar and how he had him beat at the Chamber, but then he low-blowed him, and he proved his dominance over Brock, and he wants more, but now he gets Bray Wyatt for some reason playing little kid games. And Bobby says he doesn't play little kid games, and he tells Bray Wyatt to keep his name out of his mouth or he will hurt him. And then Bray Wyatt appears on the Tron doing some sort of muscle man dance video, some sort of music video thing, mocking Bobby Lashley. It was horrible. Bobby was mad. I was mad that I had to watch it. And then Bobby Lashley was on Smackdown tonight, continuing this thing. He showed up on Smackdown, talked about Bray Wyatt, challenged him to face him in the ring. Uncle Howdy music hit, and then Uncle Howdy attacked Bobby from behind. Bobby fought back, though, spine-bustered Howdy, set him up for a spear, but the lights went out, and when the lights came back on, Howdy had disappeared. So Bray Wyatt, Bobby Lashley is where we're headed, and we saw more of that tonight on SmackDown. This Bray Wyatt stuff, it's some of the worst stuff in all of WWE, and every wrestler that has to wrestle him gets sucked into it. And I feel bad for them. I really do. I feel bad for everybody that has to feud with Bray Wyatt, because then you have to do this dumb stuff. And you have to act like it's not the stupidest stuff you've ever seen. You have to somewhat take it seriously. Even though Bobby's like, I don't play these little kid games and all that stuff, he still has to kind of play along, because if you don't, makes everything look bad, right? So it's a mess. I don't like it.
It's too bad for Bobby, but I mean, what else was he going to do at WrestleMania? I feel like him and Brock, we've had too many matches at this point. It wouldn't have been anything special,
something.
Really.
Hell in a Cell.
I don't think it would have been that great, to be honest. Those matches are good, short and sweet. We really got the best it could possibly be at Elimination Chamber. I don't think it was going to get much better than that, sadly. So I think Brock, he moved on in a better direction. And Bobby, unfortunately, he's stuck in this situation. But I also feel people that wrestle Bray, they kind of make it up to them afterwards, in a sense. It feels like they're using LA Knight a bit better now. And you saw, after the horribleness that Seth Franklin had to deal with, they rebuild him decently, I guess.
What does that tell you about Bray Wyatt? He's like the black hole of WWE. You wrestle him, and then you have to be rebuilt.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happens. It's true.
That's
I
not
like to go with
good.
the end game. It's not great, but it's also interesting in a sense where a wrestler can like damage you to the point where you need to be rebuilt. So that's actually a strong character in a sense when you look at it from that. When you look at it in terms of someone trying to draw money, that's kind of rough. But
I mean, he's so far down the list that he buries you just by having to wrestle him. He's such a piece of trash act that you have to wrestle him and lose to him. It just makes your stock even lower. It's like he's a minus 50 and you're a 10. And then all of a sudden you have to lose to the minus 50 guy. Like your rank is going to get lower. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, that's what happens. But I feel Bray Wyatt's kind of like Orange Cassidy in a sense where he has that fan base that they don't want to ignore. And I guess they're vocal enough that they kind of cater to them in a sense. So that's why we get these kind of segments.
Main event of Raw was interesting. We saw new tag team champions crowned. Damage Control dropping the belts to Becky Lynch and Lita. Bayley in the corner of Io Sky and Dakota Kai took one of the tag belts, slid it in the ring, which distracted the referee, which allowed Bayley to run around the other side of the ring, pull Lita off the apron when Becky was trying to get the tag, which prompted Trish Stratus to come out, who was apparently just backstage waiting for a moment. I don't know why she didn't just come out with Becky and Lita to begin with. But she knew Bayley was going to pull some underhanded tricks, so she was going to run out at the precise moment. Even though Bayley could have just cost them the match. You know what I'm saying? Like, what if when Bayley does whatever dastardly move she does, it works and it allows Damage Control to win? Trish was taking a huge risk in not coming out right away. But she comes out and tackles Bayley, and it looks pretty rough. I mean, you know what I'm saying, John? Like, if Trish is there and she's waiting for a moment to come out and help her friends, wouldn't she not wait until Bayley had already done something that could have cost them the match? Like, wouldn't she just come out with them at the beginning of the night knowing that Bayley's there and she's probably going to do something? Anyways.
Yeah, but there's that whole surprise element. They needed to have that.
Yeah.
So that's the main reason why that happened.
But logically,
in terms of the story, you could say that, well, we'll have you around, to come out if you feel like, it's not going to work out for us.
Right.
That's kind of the way you could say it. You could sell it.
It's a tough sell. I'm not buying it. Lita hit the twist of fate, went to the top rope for a moonsault, and Bayley jumped on the apron, tried to stop her, but Trish pulled her off the apron and kicked her in the head. And then Dakota Kai tried to stop Lita from doing the moonsault, but Becky stopped her. And Lita had been teasing that moonsault all match, and she hit it on Io for the 1-2-3 new tag team champions. And I was worried when Lita was going to the top. I was like, I don't think she can hit it. Because everything else she did in that match didn't look right. Lita is not in ring shape. Was it me, or was she out of place in that match? You had Dakota, Io, and Becky all doing pro wrestling, and then Lita doing whatever she was doing. It was awkward. She didn't really bump. I don't know if she can. Like, she's had serious neck injuries, And when she goes to the top rope to do a moonsault, I'm like, can you do it? And she did it. She was really good. I was very happy that she didn't, hurt herself hitting that move. But I don't think she's in for a long run with the tag team belts, given what I saw from her on Monday night. Becky looked good. Dakota looked good. Io looked good. Lita looked shaky. Maybe she's just rusty, but I think it's rust and also being way past her athletic prime. Because that, she didn't look sharp. But hopefully it's just rust. New tag team champions.
Well, they hyped this from the start of the show, right? Like, we started Monday Night Raw with Becky and Lita entering the arena, and you saw it throughout the night, them like talking, getting ready. This was built as the big main event of the show, so all the anticipation was on this match. So it felt like something big was going to happen. And like, I'm not going to disagree with you about Lita looked like she was off, but when's the last time that she wrestled?
Mm-hmm.
Like, had a match? Like, was it when she wrestled Becky, last year?
Yeah. She didn't look bad in that match, though.
No, but I think she did a lot of prep work for that. Where this, it's like, well, it's a tag match. I don't have to do so much. Just here, in and out. So they thought maybe they could hide it more. All she has to do is hit the moonsault. She more than likely practiced the moonsault before the show. So that was able to work out. Problem I had with the moonsault was like, fine that she hit it, but it's like you have Bayley come up, distraction. Then you have Dakota come up, distraction. All the while, Io Sky is just like lying there the whole time.
Yeah.
Just having to be there dead. And eventually I have to take the moonsault. Like that felt like an eternity, sadly. And like, to me, that kind of looked a little bit off.
Yeah, she did have to sell for a very long time. And I was kind of like, why is she still down? But Lita did just hit her with like a finisher. Like it was the twist of fate that she hit before going up top. But even the twist of fate, like it was oversold. But because everything took way too long with Lita on the top rope and all the, Dakota had to jump up and Io had to jump up and they had to hit their spot. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, even Io kind of gave a look like, you going to jump or what?
Well, that could be one of the worst parts is like when you're just waiting for something to happen and like it's not happening. It's like, hello. And on TV, it feels like it lasts forever. So, but yeah, Lita looked like she was very rusty. But again, it's a tag match. I think they felt they could hide that. Like you said, she's probably only going to be here till WrestleMania, maybe one match after that. So, and it's still odd, like what exactly are they doing? I mean, clearly something with Ronda and Shane, I'm guessing. But, the attrition involved in this too. So what's going on with that? It's not very clear. But that's also interesting too. So we find out
two matches happening. I could see two matches happening. I could see WrestleMania Night 1, Becky, Trish, and Lita against Damage Control.
Okay.
And also on WrestleMania Night 1, like a 4-way tag team match for a title shot the next night.
Yeah, I can see that, sure.
Where you have Ronda and Shayna. Shayna beat Tegan Nox tonight. Tegan Nox seems to be teaming with Natty. Carmella and Chelsea Green seem to get together for no particular reason on Monday night. Mm-hmm. You got to figure they want to put them on WrestleMania, especially Carmella. They like to focus on her. And maybe you throw Liv Morgan and somebody in a team, and there you go. You have a fatal 4-way. Something like that. But I could see like a 4-way or a 6-way, just a match to fit as many women on a WrestleMania show as possible on night 1. And then night 2, you have Ronda and Shayna, the winners from night 1, take on Becky and Lita for the tag team titles on night 2. And take the tag team titles from Becky and Lita. I would do it that way, given where we are in the story and in the booking of all this. Because if you don't do that, I don't know what you do. Either you forego the Trish Stratus match but then you're also foregoing Damage Control, Bayley. Then Bayley doesn't have a match at WrestleMania. If you just say, okay, let's do Becky and Lita against Ronda and Shayna at Mania for the tag belts, then Bayley and her group who've been working hard, they don't get WrestleMania at all. And Trish Stratus, who you just brought back in this weird way, she's also not involved at WrestleMania, other than maybe being in the corner of Becky and Lita in their match against Ronda and Shayna, which doesn't really fit. So I would do the 6-woman tag the first night with Trish, Lita, and Becky against Damage Control, and you do like a multi-woman tag team match to determine the number one contender that faces off against Becky and Lita the next night. Don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a very good idea. Mm-hmm. I would do it a little bit different, like the 4 corners tag. That's good. Number one contenders, title match night 2. But I would do just differently. I would have Bayley versus Trish just straight up 1-on-1. I think that'd be a good match to have on WrestleMania.
On night 2?
Well, on night 1, night 2 doesn't really matter when Bayley Trish happens. But...
Oh, you're just saying do Bayley Trish 1-on-1 instead of the 6-woman tag.
Right.
Yeah.
Put Damage Control in the 4-way tag instead, and Becky and Lita only have to wrestle once.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not a bad idea either. You could do that. Why was Ronda's arm in a sling tonight? Did something happen to her last week?
Well, it seemed to me she was wrestling Tegan Nox this week, right? Because last week she kind of said, "Who the hell is this person with Natty? Whatever. I'm gonna break your arm next week or something."
Yeah, didn't they say they were doing a tag team match? I thought they were gonna do a tag match tonight. Wasn't it supposed to be Ronda and Shayna against Tegan and Natty?
That's what was supposed to happen, but we got this instead because they did the angle where Ronda got attacked or whatever. So
she got attacked?
I guess yeah, they did a backstage segment where Ronda got attacked and
when was this? Tonight?
Yeah, it's happened tonight. Yeah, that's why she had her arm in a sling. Yeah, okay. Well, she had her arm in a sling because they got attacked. So I'm guessing something happened with Ronda, possibly training or a house show, whatever. So maybe she's slightly injured. So just kept her off television for this, just to have that match instead.
Yep, and then we got Shayna getting the win over Tegan with an armbar. Elsewhere on SmackDown tonight, there was a lot of Roman Reigns stuff because he was on the show. And Roman and Cody opening the show tonight, cutting a tremendous promo. Great stuff from Roman and Cody. This stole the show, obviously, right?
This was the show.
Yeah. Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, Solo Sikoa, and Paul Heyman come to the ring for a promo. Roman says, DC, acknowledge me. And Cody Rhodes comes out immediately. He says, I'm just here to have a conversation with my WrestleMania opponent, one-on-one, man-to-man. I don't know why you need all these guys here with you. Roman says, wise man, leave us. So Heyman gathers Jimmy and Solo and leaves the ring so that Roman and Cody can be alone. Roman asks Cody if he's more comfortable now. He says, you might not like this, but I'm going to do it anyways, and he lays both of the belts down in front of him. And then says, so what do you want to talk about? Just like how Cody says it, which I thought was a good line from Roman. Cody says, Roman, you've been champion for 915 days. You're at the top of the mountain. Congratulations to you. You are a mountain to conquer for most people, but I have been proving people wrong my whole career. Everybody thought I was just Randy's understudy, or I wouldn't survive the Stardust gimmick, or me and my little indie friends couldn't sell out a 10,000-seat arena. But we did all that. We beat the odds. And I'm going to do it again at WrestleMania. I thought it was interesting that Cody did bring up All In. He didn't say All In. He didn't say AEW. He didn't say any of that, but he brought it up. It's part of his story.
It's one of his greatest accomplishments.
Mm-hmm. Roman says, okay, Cody, but have you ever won one of these belts? Have you ever even competed for one? Have you ever been in the main event of WrestleMania? Because I've done all of that. I'm the most experienced main event of all time. Roman says, I've been groomed since I was a little boy, not only by my father, but by your father too. Roman says he's got too much love and respect for Dusty Rhodes to degrade him and to say bad things about Dusty. Instead, he talks about the love that Dusty had for him. Roman even does a Dusty impression where Dusty's telling Roman that he's got it. And he can't get rid of it because he is it. Roman says Dusty told him years and years ago that he would be the guy, that he would be main eventing WrestleMania, that he would be the top star in the company, and Dusty was right. And then Roman says, you know what Dusty used to say about you? Nothing. Dusty never talked about you, Cody. Maybe when Seth was around or Kevin Owens or Becky Lynch, Dusty talked about you, but when I was around, he never mentioned your name. It's like you didn't exist. And Roman says, you know, I wish Dusty was here right now. And I know you miss him, Cody, and I miss him too. And Roman says, if there's anything Dusty didn't teach you, I will. And then he goes to shake Cody's hand. And that was just brutal. Just a brutal promo from Roman Reigns. If there's anything your dad didn't teach you, I will. Don't worry, kid. Fucking tremendous. God damn, that was good.
The promo peaked right there.
Oh, yeah. Roman out-talked Cody Rhodes here.
Yep.
Very well done by the tribal chief. Cody says, oh, we're not playing on the same field here. I thought we were playing chess. You see, you sent Paul Heyman to Raw to tell me the truth. Cody says, you were the son that Dusty always wanted, and that changes everything because I have to exist. And the only way that I can exist is by beating you at WrestleMania. And he shakes Roman's hand and he says, may the better man win. And Roman looks a little bit shook, but he's smiling when he's looking at Cody. When he turns his head, he's like, what's with this guy? I thought I had him mentally beat, and he doesn't seem mentally beat. Right? Cody kind of no-sold it. He's like, that's it? I already knew all that. I already knew that my dad liked you. Maybe my dad liked you more than me. But you know what? To prove it to myself, to prove it to my dad, and to prove it to everybody, I've got to beat you to let everybody know that you may be the son Dusty Rhodes always wanted, but I am Dusty Rhodes' son. And that's what Cody Rhodes has to do. And I wish he would have said it a little bit more that way tonight, because the way he presented it, it was kind of like, what are you saying? I kind of understand what you're saying, but I wish it would be a little clearer. Cody wasn't fully clear in what he was saying, but I'm sure that he will expound upon it over the next few weeks. But it was excellent, excellent stuff. Great, great piece of the puzzle leading into WrestleMania. And a really good way to build the interest. The first time you see Roman and Cody face-to-face, delivered. Big time. Big time delivered to open up Smackdown tonight. Perfect. Right?
It helped, get you interested in the main event of WrestleMania, finally. And, Roman finally said something back to Cody, where Cody's been saying all this trash kind of to Roman, or about Roman, and there's been no response back in a sense. You had Heyman talk, but it's not the same as Roman talking. So when Roman finally talked, he made the most of it. And he got the best burn on him, like you said. So it just felt like you said, Cody, he had something, but it didn't have the same impact. I don't think the crowd was into it as much after what Roman said, it felt like you can't top that.
Hard to beat. Hard to top the Tribal Chief, and he wasn't done for the night because he had to deal with the Usos. Where's Jey Uso? Jey Uso's still not around. Roman asking Jimmy if he spoke to Jey. Jimmy says, oh, Jay's a hothead. He just needs some more time. Roman says, I'm running out of patience. Jimmy says, I'll tell him. Roman says, I'm not running out of patience with Jey. I'm running out of patience with you, Jimmy. And Jimmy says, okay, I'll let him know. Later on in the show, we're backstage again with Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, and Paul Heyman. Jimmy tells Roman that he spoke to Jey and he needs more time. And Roman's like, he needs more time. And Jimmy says, actually, he said to leave him the hell alone. And Roman's like upset. And he says, I don't understand how Jey could do this to me. To us. Roman tells Jimmy to destroy Sami Zayn tonight because it's all his fault. All these cracks in the bloodline. Roman tells Heyman, as Jimmy leaves the room, Roman tells Heyman, if Jey isn't back in the bloodline in 1 week, if Jey isn't back by next week on SmackDown, he's not going to blame Sami Zayn. He's going to blame Jimmy. I don't know what that means exactly, but doesn't sound good for Jimmy Uso. You better hope his brother comes before Roman Reigns beats up Jimmy Uso. And then we had the main event, Solo Sikoa beating Sami Zayn after the Samoan Spike got the pinfall on Sami. Jimmy moved Solo out of the corner to get him out of the way of the haluva kick to avoid Sami's finisher, which allowed Solo to then hit his finisher and get the win. Solo and Jimmy beat up Sami after the match. They wrapped a chair around his head and prepared him for the running butt move. Solo was going to do it, but then Jimmy said, no. Mila do it. Allow me. But then Sami was sitting there for too long, so he threw the chair off of his head, threw it at Solo, haluva kicked Jimmy. He went to hit Jimmy with the chair. He was going to lay into Jimmy with the chair, but Solo came after him. Sami kind of tossed the chair at Solo. Solo just brushed it aside, and Sami ran away into the crowd. Sami taking the loss to Solo, but getting a little bit of a victory, hitting his finisher on Jimmy Uso after the match. And it continues. What will Jey Uso do next week? I don't know. I assume at some point you got to get the Usos back together. And you got to figure out a way for Kevin and Sami to get together. So you could put that match at WrestleMania. They don't have that much time left, right? You got to get this going. Roman says next week, if Jey doesn't rejoin the bloodline, he's going to blame Jimmy. So maybe Jey rejoins the bloodline next week.
Well, I'm thinking that you have a moment where Kevin's in trouble. He's getting beat down or something, and Sami makes a save. Kevin's like, I don't need this, walks away. And then you'd have a moment where Sami looks like Jay's going to be on his side, but then Jey turns on Sami, and then looks like Sami's going to get beat down. Then Kevin finally comes and saves him. And then we're off and running. So you only need a week of television for that.
Yeah, you just need one segment. They could get it done in one segment. It's just, when are they going to get it done? Next week? Next week seems about right.
Maybe the week after.
All right. Well, they don't have that many weeks before WrestleMania, so they better get it done. They've got, 3 weeks of TV left?
About that, I think. I mean, do we even count the SmackDown before?
No.
Because usually that nothing really happens. And aren't they doing like the Hall of Fame like right after SmackDown?
Yeah, I mean, that's SmackDown the night before WrestleMania on the 31st of March. Doesn't really count. So they really have 3 SmackDowns left. Next week, the week after that, that's it. 4 Raws, 3 SmackDowns before WrestleMania. We're getting there. They got to, that's what I'm saying. They got to make a move. Dominic Mysterio versus Rey Mysterio. I think Santos Escobar, who was a heel with Legado del Fantasma, now being used as a pawn in this Dominic Mysterio feud. Apparently, Escobar loves Rey, and he's representing for Rey. It didn't work out so well for Santos Escobar tonight. Rhea Ripley came out with Dominic Mysterio. Dominic pulled out brass knucks at some point in the match, which distracted the referee, allowing Rhea Ripley to pull Santos Escobar out of the ring, hit him with the Riptide. Right, Rhea just hits her finisher on this dude and rolls him back in the ring. Dominic hits the frog splash, 1, 2, 3. How does Charlotte Flair have a chance when Rhea Ripley's beating up Santos Escobar on SmackDown? You know what I'm saying? Like, Rhea's a beast.
I found
Dominic,
she was more impressive. Sorry, I just thought she was more impressive doing that than her match with Liv. Where I thought
the
that
match with
wasn't
Liv
really
Morgan
that
was
impressive.
not great. Rhea did beat Liv Morgan with some sort of submission move. I don't even know what that was. Haven't seen that before.
Yeah, I forget what it like. It was like some sort of weird variation of Boston Crab kind of thing with a lion tamer kind of thing, but it wasn't even a Boston Crab.
It looks like a reverse Texas Cloverleaf a little bit.
Yeah, it's more like that. Yeah, but it's like with the lion tamer, like the way the knees on the head.
Yeah, it didn't look great. And the match wasn't particularly good, but man, did she toss Santos Escobar around. That was pretty impressive. And Dominic got the win, and Dominic ripped up the Rey Mysterio mask that Santos had brought to the ring with him. Rey Mysterio came out after the match and confronted Dominic. Dominic, again, begging his father to hit him, but Rey refused. Rey went to pick up the mask that was ripped and got clotheslined from behind and dropped by Dominic. Rey looked sad. So that, at some point will happen. At some point, Rey will say, okay, let's do a match, You think, right? Rey versus Dominic? Like, it's got to happen at WrestleMania.
To me, the story doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, Dom says, like, he's a deadbeat dad. I mean, this is the same dad that fought for your custody in, like, a ladder match. Like, if he was a deadbeat dad, he wouldn't have done that whatsoever. But, I guess we just forget about stuff like that. That was in the past. That was 2005. So, what have you done for me lately kind of thing, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, you're not wrong about that, I guess, that moment in time. But Drew McIntyre comes to the ring for a promo. He says he doesn't have a WrestleMania match yet and calls out Gunther. Sheamus comes out, and he's like, hey, man, you know how much I want the Intercontinental title? I thought we were friends. How come you're doing this match? What's this? Like, Sheamus is all mad, and Drew seems like a dick, right? Like, they're supposed to be buddies, and Drew's, like, going behind his back. Drew's like, no, calm down, Sheamus. Drew says, look, I don't need to ask your permission for anything. Sheamus is like, yeah, I thought we were friends. I thought you were my brother. Turns out you're just a backstabbing bastard. And Drew says, look, not for nothing here, buddy, but you had 2 chances against Gunther, and you lost twice. It's my turn. Then LA Knight comes out, and he's like, hey, blah, blah, blah. You can't have WrestleMania in LA without LA Knight. And then the New Day interrupts right away, and they're like, we're here to apologize for LA Knight crying every week about having no match. He can't win a match on SmackDown. He sucks. And then Karrion Kross and Scarlett come out for some reason, and they distract New Day for LA Knight to dump New Day out of the ring. Drew and Sheamus then face off, but Drew does a dive on LA Knight and the New Day, which looked really rough on Kofi. Like, Kofi seemed like he took the brunt of Drew McIntyre. You see that? Is he okay? God.
Well, blame the others for not catching him. Like, only Kofi caught him, so.
Yeah. Well, just the way Drew landed. Drew kind of just landed all on Kofi. Like, his body wasn't between the three. He was just kind of thump on Kofi. Whatever. Things happen. Drew and... so Drew did his dive, then Karrion Kross grabbed Sheamus from behind and tossed him out of the ring. Karrion Kross stood tall at the end of it. And this is to set up a fatal 5-way match on SmackDown next week. Kofi Kingston, Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, Karrion Kross, and LA Knight. The winner gets an Intercontinental title match, I think at WrestleMania, although that wasn't clear. Gunther cut a promo talking about how offensive it is that he doesn't have a WrestleMania opponent yet. And they did set up this fatal 5-way, but they said for an Intercontinental title match. I didn't see on the graphic for an Intercontinental title match at WrestleMania, but I assume that's what they're doing.
I mean, wait and see. This might be one match to lead to another match kind of thing. So
yeah. Well, we've heard it'll be Sheamus, Drew, and Gunther in a triple threat, right?
That or just maybe Drew gets a one-on-one shot, possibly.
Well, then what do the rest of these guys do at WrestleMania? Like, what do you do with Kofi and Sheamus and Woods and Karrion Kross and LA Knight? Like, do they have no match?
Well, I thought, like, when I saw all of them come out, I'm like, well, are we doing a ladder match for the IC title?
Yeah.
But, I mean, if they're just going to do this match, I guess not, right?
It's odd. It seems like a lot of people you might want to book at WrestleMania, but we'll see. That fatal five-way going down next week on SmackDown. Viking Raiders against Braun Strowman and Ricochet set for SmackDown next week. John Cena will be on Raw. Logan Paul will be on Raw. Carmella against Bianca Belair set for Raw. Finn Balor versus Edge, now official for WrestleMania. Brock Lesnar versus Omos, official for WrestleMania. And The Miz is the official host now of WrestleMania. Starting to come together. Starting to figure out what WrestleMania is looking like. I've been hearing a lot of people talk about how WWE is like doing great and the booking is so good and it's so much better than AEW and all this stuff. And I don't know about you, but I look at this WrestleMania card and yeah, work. But the rest of the card is not that appealing to me. You have Roman versus Cody, great match, very cool. Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley, been done before at WrestleMania. Rhea's on a roll. Charlotte is, not as on fire as she once was. She's great, but the match doesn't do a lot for me. Because if Rhea beats Charlotte, it's like, yeah, whatever. Fine, Charlotte loses the belt. She'll win it back. No big deal. If Charlotte beats Rhea, it's like, yeah, all right, she's done it already. The match will be great. Rhea and Charlotte are great wrestlers. They've had a great match at WrestleMania before. But I'm just not super excited about this match. The build has been kind of lacking. Bianca Belair and Asuka, same thing. I think the match will be fine, but the build isn't really there. Brock and Omos is kind of like a throwaway match. It's like Undertaker against Giant Gonzalez. What's the point? Gunther against the winner of the Fatal 5-Way. Not great. Finn against Edge, I feel like we've seen already. This WrestleMania is not doing it for me. There's nothing really on this show that's very exciting. And the only thing that has a proper build so far, and again, 3 more SmackDowns, 4 more Raws before the biggest show of the year. The only thing that has a proper build is Roman and Cody. Everything else is kind of weird. Bray Wyatt and Bobby Lashley, like, ugh. For all the critical acclaim that WWE's been getting in the booking department, I think people have just been confused with, that one good angle that they did. They've been doing great work with Sammy and Roman and Kevin and the Usos and Solo and Heyman. People forget. And then, yeah, Cody's good too. But then you forget, like, the rest of the show is kind of crap. And if you're building towards WrestleMania and you look at the card, it's like, well, I don't know. I've been hearing a lot of positive things about WWE lately, and there are a lot of positives. But, man, this WrestleMania card is kind of weak so far. And we're not too far off from WrestleMania. I don't know what they're going to add to it that's going to get us excited. Like, what is the hype for this show? Logan Paul and Seth Rollins? Like, please. It's not great.
Yeah, I know you're not excited for that, but I think a lot of people are going to be excited for that match because a lot of people like seeing Logan Paul wrestle. They find his matches exciting and, like, got to give the devil his due. Like, he's had good matches, limited matches that he's had. They have been very good. And you could say, like, it's all been built by one story, but that one story has also branched off into another match where we will get Kevin and Sammy against the Usos. And that's a big thing because the Usos are more likely going to lose their undisputed tag team titles finally. The end of the longest tag team title reign. So that's kind of a huge deal. And for Kevin and Sammy to finally win the tag team titles, they've never done that before.
Yeah. Okay. But it's kind of like
But
foregone conclusion with that. You know, it's like, yeah, all right. Kevin and Sammy are
right,
going to get the Usos and they'll win the belts and whatever. Like,
you'll get Cena in theory.
in theory, he'll beat him and whatever. Like, the only match where I'm like, what are they going to do is Cody and Roman. It's been built so well. And you wonder, like, well, Roman is unstoppable. You could see him winning because you can't fathom a world where, you know, Roman couldn't win. If he's in the match, he's got a shot, right?
Of course.
But it seems like it's Cody's match to win.
It should be.
I'd pick Cody to win now, right? But if Roman won, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I don't know what they're going to do. Every other match, I'm like, yeah, I know what they're going to do. And if I don't know what they're going to do, I don't give a shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least I care with Roman and Cody because it matters, you know? Like, if Charlotte loses to Rhea Ripley, it doesn't really matter. Nothing really matters. Even if Kevin and Sammy beat the Usos, it doesn't really matter. It's a slightly bigger deal than most other things on this card, but like if Brock Lesnar beats Omos, does it matter? All the wins that Brock Lesnar's had in his career, it doesn't matter. Don't try to sell me on it. I've seen him F5 the Big Show, suplex him through a ring. Big Show's bigger than Omos. Don't sell me no bullshit, John. Don't sell me on that bullshit. If Brock Lesnar beats Omos, just another jabroni on his list. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters.
I just find it's always interesting to see a giant being taken to Suplex City.
Oh, jeez.
Some of them take it well, some of them don't.
Yeah, okay.
That's always fun.
You want to see if it's going to be a botch-a-mania match. That's what you're looking for, but it doesn't matter. I'm talking about this is the biggest show of the year where we have resolutions, where we have conclusions, where things are supposed to matter, where it's the biggest match of the year for everybody on your show, where the matches matter, where they mean something because your whole career's been building to this. The only guy whose whole career has been building to this is Cody Rhodes. Everybody else is like, maybe Rhea Ripley. You could say Rhea Ripley's whole career has been building to this big match with Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. You could say that because I don't think Rhea's ever been hotter than she is right now. Right? Rhea is at her peak right now. This is peak Rhea Ripley. There may be a higher peak, but we've never seen it, right? But everybody else is kind of at the mid-level of who they are and who they've been. Asuka, Bianca Belair, like, she's doing all right, but I don't know if she's reached her peak or what. I don't know what she is right now. Brock is kind of on the down of his career. Omos is just a jobber. Gunther is around, about to wrestle, you know, a guy, whoever they find for him. Like, it's Seth is going to wrestle the celebrity match. And if Seth wins, you know, who cares? And if Logan wins, like, ugh. Not great for Seth. There's just a lot of stuff that doesn't matter and doesn't help anybody. And it's supposed to be the biggest show of the year. It's not been well crafted. Only Roman Reigns has been a well-crafted story. Everything else has been sloppily put together. Look at this Lita Becky thing. Like, what the hell is that?
Well, that goes back to what we've been talking about, like saying that they lack star power in the women's division. Felt like we've had this discussion for in the past where it's like they didn't have anyone for them to wrestle. Like, if you're not doing Becky versus Ronda straight up, what can you possibly do? And when you look at tag teams, they didn't really build any tag teams of whatsoever, so they had to bring people from the past, which they've done with other people in the male division too, like help bring up the current stars. So it just makes sense what they're doing, and hopefully, like, you could tell, like, it doesn't matter if Lita and Trish are rusty, like, they still get reactions more than more than half the women's wrestlers right now. So that's the main thing. They're over, and they didn't build enough stars that they're actually interesting enough to wrestle. Like, this Candice LeRae, Piper Niven stuff. Like, did you care whatsoever? Like, I didn't.
No.
Because they just aren't properly built whatsoever.
No.
Even Carmella, like, I mean, they're trying with that, but I'm not behind that whatsoever. That's way too forced.
It's a lot of stop and start with these people. Right? They push them, they stop, they start, Like Liv Morgan had some momentum at one point, and now they seem to have cooled off on her.
I think they're going to turn to like a Bray Wyatt thing, I think, more than likely.
I mean, whatever they're doing, like, they slowed down on her. And that's a problem when you're trying to make a star. Like, how did they make Roman Reigns into this megastar? They pushed the shit out of him consistently for years. Right?
Too much.
Yeah, sure, but it worked, right? Yeah. It worked. If you put somebody on TV all the time and they're always involved in something, they're always doing something, they're going to become a star. If you make somebody involved in something for 6 months and then they're kind of not really involved for 3 months, and then for another 3 months, the last 3 months of the year, they're kind of involved again, and then for another 6 months, then they're really involved, and then they're pulled back again. Like, you never get a consistent star. And when you want to bring them back into the main fold, everybody's like, huh? Didn't this person just lose to this jabroni like 3 weeks ago? How am I supposed to buy this? And that's what they do. It's a stop and start constantly, and that's why they haven't made any stars. And that's why the only star they've made is Roman Reigns, because that's the only guy they focused on in the past 5 years. They focused only on him. They sacrificed everybody to make him, and they've made him. But in the meantime, look at where you are at WrestleMania right now in 2023. You have a very compelling main event with Roman Reigns, the only star that you've actually built, and you have another card and a half with nothing on it. Roman Reigns is only on night 2. We got to sit through night 1. And most of night 2. Like, you know what I'm saying? Roman and Cody is the only thing worthwhile at WrestleMania. It's the only thing that feels like WrestleMania. You know? It's the only thing that feels like big, marquee. It's the only thing. And they're doing a 2-night show. That's not what you want to do. That's not where you want to be at this stage in the game. And hopefully, the booking strategies of Triple H going forward fix that. So we can have a healthier main event scene where, you could have another match on this card between two guys where you could see the winner of the match being the next number 1 contender for the world title. And you don't have that. You don't have that now. You don't have a clear cut like, oh, well, this is a big match, and if this guy wins, like, he should probably go up to the next, That isn't on this card. That's a problem. You want to know who's next up. You want to give the fans an idea of who's next up. You don't have that here. WrestleMania 13, Stone Cold Steve Austin wrestled Bret the Hitman Hart. It wasn't for the world title. It wasn't the main event. It was one of the greatest matches of all time. It was a featured match, but Stone Cold was not the world champion at that point. He was not main eventing, but you knew that he was next up. But he didn't become champion until the next year at WrestleMania 14 when he beat Shawn Michaels. And then he was the biggest star in the history of professional wrestling. Imagine that. Build a guy, set him up with a big match at WrestleMania 1 year where he loses, then build him up over the year so that he could become your world champion at the next year's WrestleMania. That was pretty clear cut. That made a lot of sense at the time. And by God, did it ever work? Seems like a good formula to me. I mean, I'm not saying that everybody's going to turn out to be Stone Cold Steve Austin. We could only be so lucky, but I think the strategy of putting guys in big matches, guys that are kind of at the mid-level, but you could see coming up. He's coming up. He's next. Like Gunther wrestling Brock Lesnar this year would have been great. Because Gunther could have had a knockdown, drag-out match with Brock Lesnar and lose, but look good, and then come back next year and wrestle in a main event for the world title. Because Gunther is a guy who's at that level where he's getting fan support, he can cut a promo, he's got a great look, he's really good in the ring. You could see him being next up. You could see him being in that main event scene as a world champion in a year from now, or less. But when he wrestles like Drew McIntyre or whatever, it's not going to be that memorable WrestleMania match where people go, oh, yeah, Gunther. And then over the next year, we say, oh, yeah, Gunther, he had that match with Brock, and, it's not going to happen for Gunther. That's not how you build a guy, by having him wrestle, Drew McIntyre or whatever. I'm right. I'm right. All right, with Stone Cold, that's how they did it. That's how you do it. You got to set it up.
Right. But you also have to understand, too, that, there's a different time in a sense. And
of course,
they were able to take Austin, who was like the biggest heel at the time, and to switch him face. That was a very special situation. And that might, to me, that's what kind of hurts Gunther right now, is the fact that he's kind of one-dimensional. Where it's like, I feel like he can be a strong heel, but as a strong face, I'm not seeing that. Like, I mean, yes, Montreal cheered him and loved him, but that's a rare kind of thing. I don't feel every crowd is behind that whatsoever. And they haven't pushed in that direction. Where Austin, it felt like they were pushed in that direction. With this, it doesn't feel like this at all. It just feels like they're staying the course. He would need a match with Brock to kind of maybe break out of that way his character is, but he's not going to get that wrestling Drew McIntyre or Sheamus. So there won't be any progression in a sense. Maybe he'll go up to another level, but to see him wrestle Roman Reigns next year at WrestleMania, I don't see that. It would have to be Cody if it would work out that way.
Mm-hmm. But he's not being set up for it, right? Like you said exactly what I was saying. If he wrestled Brock this year, then he could be set up as a babyface. If he got, his ass kicked, but he put on a good showing and he beat up Brock a bit, but he still lost, he could get sympathy off of that.
Right.
But they're not doing that. They're not going there with Gunther. But they could. And I think he could be a babyface, like an ass-kicking babyface, like a Samoa Joe style, Brock Lesnar style babyface, where you just want to see your guy beat up the heels. You just put Gunther against a heel, I think people are going to cheer for him because he's fun. People like Gunther. You just have to put him against heels. I think it would work. I think he'd be a good babyface. He's likable. He's fun.
They need to go in that direction a little. Even with Austin, before, they had that big match with Brett, they were kind of going in that direction a little bit where he just attack anybody randomly, right?
Mm-hmm.
This, it's clearly they're, baby faces, that's it. They want him to get booed, nothing at all. So that's kind of the problem with this. I see what you're saying, but I don't think they're seeing it the same way, though, sadly.
They rarely do. All right, we are running out of time. Johnny, when's your next match? When can people see you in the ring? Sunday, right?
It will be Sunday, yep. Sunday, 4 p.m., 1000 Boulevard d'Avenir, right next to Place Belle. I'll be wrestling the main event. Ian Bjork against Drew Onyx and Savage Paulson. It's his return match, actually. I guess second or third match back since his retirement. So big match. But we'll kick their ass like we've done before.
Nice. All right, so go check that out. More information on your Twitter at North Genesis.
Twitter, Instagram. Yep, Instagram, Genesis Joy North.
Cool. And check me out. I'll be back here tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time for the UFC 285 watch-along. John Jones, Cyril Gane. What do you got, Jones or Gane?
Cool, it's a tough one. Like to me, it's just like I haven't seen Jones fight in so long. So
yeah,
I think I go with Cyril on this one.
Going with Cyril.
I know you're going with. I know you're going with Jones, but like I just haven't seen him at heavyweight. So it's tough. Like that's not easy to jump in right to the championship. I'm not saying it can't be done. I know GSP did it, but it's not easy to do that.
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky fight for John Jones. It's not going to be a walk in the park. Cyril Gane's tough, but I think John Jones is going to figure out a way to do it. But yeah, 3 years away, jumping up in weight class, it's a challenge. It's a real challenge. Plus, Cyril is serious. He's very good.
Yeah.
10 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow night, we will be watching UFC 285 live here with you for the UFC 285 watch-along, and then I'll be back Sunday night right after AEW Revolution to recap everything that happened on AEW Revolution. My brother will be here with me. We'll be having fun and doing things. Got a whole set of things for us to do on Sunday night that I can't talk about, but you'll know. Anyways, I don't want to talk about it. My brother's in for quite a ride on Sunday night. Not just watching the pay-per-view, but we're gonna have a little fiesta. We're gonna have a little party. So I'll be awake for the show on Sunday night, though. Don't worry. I'll be here. I'll be awake, and I think I'll have enjoyed the pay-per-view quite a bit. All right. So AEW Revolution coming up on Sunday. Well, I hope so. I'm hoping to enjoy it.
Well, I'm expecting a bad mood because it'll be like, oh, this is 2 a.m. and like you'll be upset.
And Bryan didn't even win. goddammit. I'll tell you though, if Bryan wins, I'm gonna be so happy. As you know, like every time Bryan wins a match or like a title, I go bananas. So if he becomes champion, wow, he hasn't been world champion since what? Kofi Mania.
He said that was the greatest thing he ever did too.
What?
Was
lose to Kofi?
Match. Yeah.
To give that moment to Kofi?
Yeah.
I don't think that happens if it's any other world champion either. I think Bryan pushed for that to happen. Because he's a good man.
It's tough to say.
He did. I'm sure he did.
Like I agree with you too. I feel like his reign shouldn't have ended there, so
it was a great run. I love that run with that hemp belt that he made and Eric Rowan and everything. I wish they could have continued it without hurting Kofi's momentum, but it just was a convergence of two hot stars at that one time, and they just had to go with Kofi, and it is what it is. But I would love to see Bryan Danielson become world champion again here on Sunday, so I'm hoping for the best, but prepared for the worst, as we have to be here on the Ringside Report Network. I'll be back tomorrow night for the UFC 285 watch-along, a big weekend right here. Thanks to everybody tuning in. Shout out to all the members. I saw Derek John in the chat here tonight. Join.ringsidereport.net is where you need to go. Join.ringsidereport.net, $5 a month. You support the Ringside Report Network, and you become our buddy. We hear about you. We talk about you. And we read your comments on the show. Join.ringsidereport.net to support the Ringside Report Network. Hit us up on Super Chat and do all those things to support the show and keep us going. I got a long weekend, all right? Keep me going. I'll be back tomorrow night right here on the Ringside Report Network.
Please join in and give your support to Ringside Report Network. We've been providing expert coverage and commentary on both pro wrestling and MMA for over 15 years. Go to ringsidereport.net/support to find out more ways to support the channel.